All right, and we are live. Welcome to the Iron Lords podcast, episode number 26. And it's another glorious Sunday, and we are back at the round table on the Lord's Day. I'm very excited about our special guest, so we're going to get right into it. I want to introduce a Lord whose content I've had the pleasure of coming across through some mutual friends, Lords Eric Jackson, Sam Tober, and B Money. This is a Lord that always provides brutally honest feedback from a multi-platform perspective and is fearless in calling out issues he feels are unjust in these gaming streets. Similar to the ILP, this Lord provides a platform where different opinions are encouraged and true gamers can discuss what's most important, enjoying these great games. Introducing the creator and host of the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, the hardcore gamer for the people, and the only man who delivers a true 4K 60 frames per second podcast every Wednesday night. Love Lord BRAP, how are we doing, sir?
Gentlemen, good afternoon. Hey, I love that intro, by the way. That was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We got to show respect. You know, we got to show respect. We love what you're doing out there. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just ready to talk some video games with you gentlemen. And again, thank you for having me on. I definitely appreciate it. And it's always good to connect with other gamers who just have a general appreciation for gaming and don't get caught up in all the console war stuff and fanboy stuff. So, exactly. Like I said, I'm really excited to be on. So thank you again, gentlemen.
Absolutely. A pleasure to absolutely have you. And of course, we have the usual suspects at the round table. Our co-host with the co-most might be missing in action today. So hopefully we'll get him a little later. He had a little rough work schedule, so hopefully we can get him in. But we're going to introduce the rest of the Lords. And of course, we have our most technical gaming Lord, the solo gamer who lives for the single player experience, semi-offline PS4 Pro Illuminati. My man, Lord Sovereign, how are we doing, sir?
Fantastic, man. Doing good. Nice and well rested. no boxing or UFC to keep me up last night, so I went to bed early.
So you got, there's no hangovers, no drinks kicked in?
No hangovers. I'll leave that for Floyd. For Floyd.
Yes.
It's gonna be a rough IOP that day.
Oh yeah.
No doubt. And of course, the excess gamer.
Ooh.
The Lord who is a man of his convictions and demands nothing less than the premium experience.
Ooh.
Beloved Lord King, how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I did find boxing on last night.
I'm mad Lord Addict here to argue. I'm mad Lord Addict here to argue with you right now.
No, it was the most in the corner boxing that you could find. I swear I must be a junkie or something. But I found Julio Cesar Chavez's illegitimate son. His son fighting. Like the son that you don't know about was in the ring last night, and I was like, wow, what am I doing?
You got another son?
He said he got another son.
He has a couple of sons. Jr. Yeah, you know about Chavez Jr., but he has at least 5 to 6 other sons that's not juniors. And the one was fighting last night, and I found it.
Wow, I am impressed that you still found boxing. Yes. I'm like, okay, this is a bit. No doubt. And of course, is here Lord Cognito here, and we are spreading you that gaming realness from the ILP, for telling you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. So before we get started and what the Lords are playing this week, I want to first start off with Lord BRAP and his video game system history. I want to get into that, and I also want to ask him also just the early history of the great BRAP podcast and how it started. So let's start with your video game systems and how you got started in this whole gaming culture.
Oh man, I've been doing this a long time. I've probably been gaming about 35 years now.
Ooh, talk that OG talk. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So right. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about gaming is because I started gaming at a very early age on the Atari 2600.
Let's go, baby.
Yes, sir. Thanks to talk, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, this is ColecoVision and television. I mean,
let's go.
Yep, and one of the reasons why I chose arcade in the title for BRAP is because that's where you used to go when you were young. You used to go to the arcades. You used to go. That's where the new releases came out. That's where you went to go play. There were arcades everywhere. Every mall had an arcade, and there was lines. You had to put your quarters down. That's where I first played Street Fighter. So, yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and I remember when there was no gaming industry, when ET came out and literally destroyed the gaming industry. People don't remember that.
Yeah,
that
I do.
You remember that?
I remember. I remember buying Atari cartridges and Odd Lot for 50 cents a pop. When that
right after that happened, you know, Crazy Sounds on 3rd Avenue. I was there getting all those games for $1.
Yeah, and so you know, I've lived that. I mean, I saw, and that's a lot of people don't know. That's why when Nintendo came out with the NES, it was called the Nintendo Entertainment System, and why they included Rob, because they wanted to position the console as a like as a toy, basically, you know, and not as a gaming console because of what happened here in North America. So from there, I had, you know, once the NES dropped, I had that, a Sega Master System.
Nice.
Yeah, I pretty much have been a multi-consoler most of my life.
Have you ever took the plunge in Neo Geo? Because I took the plunge in that early.
No, I never did. That Neo Geo was a little bit out of my price range at the time.
Yeah,
a little too premium. That little kid.
I was out of control with that.
Yeah.
$250 cartridges. It got really out of hand.
Yeah, I had a friend who had one, but you know, I TurboGrafx 16. I mean, the Genesis, the SNES. I mean, you know, those were the days. I mean, for me, that was such a, you know, and I've had a. If you've been doing this a long time, we have this unique experience where we've seen gaming. You talk about a change, a revolution in gaming. I mean, I was there when we went from 2D to 3D.
Yep.
We went from game cartridge to CD disc. I mean, that was game changer. That was game changer. And that's you know, I feel lucky that I've got to experience some of those things from you know, growing up you know, playing games for the last 35 years. You know, and now we're seeing some technological advances with, you know, online and VR now, but yeah, that's why I'm passionate. That's why I don't understand the whole, you know, not to get on my soapbox, but the whole console war stuff, because it's stupid. You know, we're all gamers. We all love gaming, and I don't understand.
Absolutely, man.
Hating.
Well, you know, it gets into we always have to feel that we have to take a side in things, no matter what, and it's in our nature. So I can understand why a lot of guys would say, I'm a Sony or I'm a this, and sometimes it's economics. When you go to the store and you pick up a game system, some people don't have the choice to go in and pick up both. So they pick one and they bet on that horse heavy. And when that horse is in the lead a little bit, you know, they cheer, they want to raise their pom-pom. I took a good choice. I did a good choice. So I feel that, but sometimes it crosses the line into weirdism.
Yeah, absolutely does.
And you get to the point where you feel that you have to put down somebody else's choice to make somebody else feel bad about their choice and boost your choice. No, you just made a choice. You just bet on the horse, and if your horse win, your horse win. But remember, there's always another race, and maybe your horse will lose that time. But they haven't been around long enough to understand that fact, you know, because a lot of people, like you said, you bet on Atari. I bet on Atari heavy. I was playing Pitfall when ET came out and destroyed my world. So
it's funny because when Lord of my BRAP is talking, I'm like, yo, I remember that Coleco. Like, that was my first system.
He was a Coleco head.
Yeah, my first one. Yeah,
I was a Nintendo head. He was a Sega Master Systems head. You know, we didn't bump heads. We were just like, oh, you got that game over there? Let me play that. We don't have that. So gaming back then was different opposed to gaming now. Gaming now is like, lines drawn in the sand. I'll kill you for your beliefs. Like, it's strange.
It's like religious wars now. Like,
yeah.
It's
but
true.
go ahead. I'm sorry for jumping in on your talk, but I'm real sorry. But I'm just like, I noticed it, and it's strange that they can't let that red versus blue go.
Yeah, it is strange. It really is. And you know, I'm lucky from the sense that I have that perspective. You know, that you know, I saw the industry fail. I go back to a time where you bought games based on box art. If you guys remember that,
yeah,
box art looked good. You were gonna buy the game.
Remember when Fabio was on Wizards and Warriors or whatever?
Oh,
I remember that.
yeah. Oh, where they changed the box art for Ghouls and Ghosts, and it wasn't the same as the arcade cabinet. You was afraid
Absolutely,
because
absolutely.
you saw the box art. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be good.
I will say this before we move on with the second part for Lord BRAP. What I realized though about that era, as much as I love it, I think it also reinforced what something wasn't arcade perfect, because when sometimes when there was a translation that that came home to the home, whether it was the original NES or Master System or even the older systems, and then you saw that home version versus the arcade version, like, the arcade version is a little better looking.
You realized you didn't own the arcade. That's what you realized.
Exactly. But as things progressed and got more powerful, you then started to see how close, and it was almost one-to-one, relationship as far as
Thank you, PlayStation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Tekken. I remember that was one of my first in Ridge Racer and stuff. But enough about me. This is about Lord BRAP.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into. Also, I want to know. Tell us about the evolution and the creation of the Basement Radio Arcade podcast. How did that start?
So I was actually I was part of a podcast prior to BRAP. You guys might be familiar with the original Next Level Gaming podcast.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
So it was myself, Mike Mullis, and Warrior. And
Warrior! Shout out to Lord Warrior. I follow him. He's a good guy on Twitter.
Yeah, he is. He's great. He's a guy, and I have a lot of respect for him because he just loves gaming. That's it. It's no, if ands or buts about it, just loves gaming and is so passionate about it. And he's one of those few that just doesn't get caught up in all the console wars nonsense. But we started with them, and then I just felt like I really enjoy what Mike's doing at Next Level Gaming, but I felt like I because of what I saw was going on in the community and a lot of the fanboy stuff, I was like, gamers need a place. Real gamers who are tired of the console war narrative and consistently calling out media and complaining and yada yada yada. They felt like gamers needed a place where they can go and just a safe place where they can go kind of voice their opinions, and just talk about gaming.
Yes.
And that's why I came up with BRAP. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a podcast where people can come and just listen to a variety of opinions and and just kind of be a safe place for people to say, hey, you know what? I don't like that company A, B, and C is doing this. What do you think?
Facts.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, and I always say this, like, first and foremost, like, yes, we're gamers, but we're consumers too. This hobby is not cheap. And this is the part that kills me. I never understand why people are reluctant to hold companies accountable. If a company doesn't put a good product out, don't buy it. Don't support it.
Yep.
Call them out.
Vote with your dollar.
Facts.
Yeah.
Vote with your wallet. That is so key. Absolutely.
I mean, it's people complaining about nonsense. Oh, biased media. No. EA just released another game that's buggy. It doesn't work. That needs a patch. Why don't you complain about that? They're charging you a full price for a game that doesn't work.
Oh, but let me tell you something. We're going to get into that today.
Yeah, we got a lot of juicy ones. Absolutely.
I got a bone to pick with somebody today.
No, but that's good stuff, Lord BRAP, and I definitely appreciate what you're doing, and that it is needed, man. The balanced aspect of this is needed in this gaming community, and it's always a pleasure to support guys like you that actually provide that haven and that kind of content. So we're gonna get into what the Lords are playing this week. So let's start with you, Lord Saab. What you've been touching this week? I'm assuming Hellblade is one of them.
Hellblade is all of it, actually. I dropped everything to try to get through Hellblade because I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of time day to day, so I try to do a little bit every day. So yeah, I dropped everything to play Hellblade this week.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. We're going to get into that. I know you got a lot to say about that.
Definitely.
No doubt. All right, Lord King, what's been on the agenda this week?
Well, I fired up that super crazy beastie iBuyPower PC that I purchased, and I've been downloading a ton of Steam games. I ordered my Steam controller. So
Okay.
I'm waiting for that to show up, and I ordered my NVIDIA Shield, the next generation one, to put downstairs in my den, because I want to stream the games to do big screen mode on the TV downstairs. So I'm waiting for that to show up before I really get engaged into my PC world. But I've been playing a little bit of guilty pleasure game
What you
and
playing?
Deadpool.
Really? Oh, you took it back. What made you dust
No,
that off?
it's well. I have my, every month I got this little hustle where I get 4 to 5 free games. So I went to GameStop and I'm getting my free games, and I saw Deadpool there for Xbox One. I'm like, I could do that. So I said, I've been wanting to play that. I've been thoroughly enjoying this buggy game. It's such a manner that something's wrong, because I look around every time I'm playing it like I'm committing a sin, and I'm like, I'm having so much fun with this game. It was such a good game because it didn't take itself seriously. Any little like buggy things, it even made jokes about the bugs, and so I guess they were intentional, or I guess they couldn't take it out and they just put a joke in there. So I'm like, this game is so much fun. But that's what I've been playing this whole week.
Nice. Yeah, for me it's been it's August, so for Lord Cognito, for me it's hashtag kill the backlog. As you know, Destiny is my thing, so that's fastly approaching in September. So I'm just going through the backlog right now, and it's just been a lot of Telltale stuff. Shout out to Lord Dizzy. I see he's in the chat. I mean, a lot of people. I'm obviously a big Telltale guy with certain games, the story narrative driven stuff. And like I said, last week I finished the Walking Dead New Frontier. This week I started on the Wolf Among Us for the first time. Actually, that one fell through the cracks.
Nice.
And people are telling me, like, Telltale, I have like a little pantheon. And for me, surprisingly, a game that I put off, I didn't think I was going to like, which is my number one right now, is actually the Tales from the Borderlands. I don't know if you guys played that.
Yeah.
It is hilarious. I mean, I've never laughed out loud at a video game almost throughout the entire video game. It's so well written and so hilarious and funny. And to be honest, I'm not a hardcore Borderlands guy, so I didn't think I was going to even like the universe to begin with. So, as far as me playing a game that I really didn't know much of, the history, for them to, kept me involved and emotionally connected, I was like, I love this game. So that's my number one. But a lot of people have been telling me, like Lord Dizzy, and I believe two other people that I talked to, they were like, listen, Lord Anchor, actually, he was one of them that actually said as well, Wolf Among Us, that's the best one. Right? Yep. So I just started. I'm probably about 3 or 4 episodes in, and man, it's funny. It's not only funny, it's good. The Fable lore, it's really, really good. So I got to see how it ends before I do my personal Telltale rankings. So, but yeah, I've been enjoying that, man. And the other thing I touched is shout out to Hinterland Games. They finally dropped The Long Dark. That was something that was in preview program a long time. I was a huge fan of that game. They've had some story content to it, and it's really good, y'all. It's really good. I mean, if you like that type of survival resource kind of a deal, it's not horror or anything like that. It's just about managing yourself in the cold, doing all these different things out in the environments, food, water, and all that stuff. It's really cool, and they have some story episodic stuff. So that's what I've been rocking. And I want to jump into these polls. So last week's poll results are in, and the people have spoken. So the winner at 75% strong is the Xbox preview program bad for gaming. Is the no. It helps small developers.
I'm sitting here waving my arms like, yes.
So it seems Lord King would not be pleased with this group at
I'm
all.
in the 25%. And just when you said that game, that long night, I played in the preview and left it in its box. But
so the group who said that the preview program is slave labor for broken games finished up at 25%. So it's pretty one-sided. I wish Lord Addict was here because I know he would have a lot to say about this.
Well, I'm part of that 25%, baby.
You voted twice.
I was the whole 25%.
I want to thank to all 80 plus who participated in the poll, and obviously I want to get Lord BRAP and Lord Sai. What do we think about that as far as the preview program? Are you guys with the people or are you against? Where you at? Let's start with Lord BRAP. Where you at with that?
I'm okay with the preview program. I think it's gives people the opportunity to play games with that they may not otherwise be interested in. And the only issue I have is when games are still in preview and are still being worked on, and developers are going to start charging like $60. I think this happened recently with
Fortnite.
Oh, yeah.
Fortnite, baby. Tell
with
them.
Fortnite, yeah, and I have a little bit of an issue with that, because how are you going to charge someone the full retail price for something that's not even finished yet?
Yeah.
Lord
I
Brad,
agree with that.
let me tell you something. I was in GameStop. They have Fortnite in GameStop for sale, not pre-order. $60 for sale.
Mhm. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's a little aggressive.
And the fine print is like, you really can't see anywhere on the packaging that it says preview in game and it's very small. And so if you're going in there, you're not in the know, you're gonna walk in there, you're gonna purchase a game thinking the game is complete.
Yep.
And it's not.
And it's not.
And it's free next year.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I hear.
Yeah. That's my only issue with it. I mean, I the idea itself I'm okay with, like, but I'm not okay again with, my fear is like people are going to go out and buy Fortnite now at $60, and now the other developers are going to take notice, because the industry is very copycat.
Yep.
Yes.
And I feel like that could be a dangerous precedent to set. And I hope people don't support that, because I don't agree with that. I think it's great if you want to open up a beta. You want to get people in a preview program. You want them to try out your game. Maybe you're a small indie dev. You want to get the game in people's hands, maybe a little word of mouth. But you can't go out there and charge people $60 for something that's not finished.
Full price.
Would you go out and buy a car that's in
the preview program?
Missing the trunk.
Yeah. We're working on the door panels. Oh,
the gas pedal, don't worry about that. It's coming 2 months from now, but full price.
Get it. It just pop up. But this is so much fun. But I see Microsoft is preemptively striking at this with that the creative collections.
Yes. Creative program you're talking about.
Yes, that collection creative program thing that they're doing is a counterbalance to the preview program, because it makes no sense to have two type of the same programs in one ecospace, but then when you look at them, they're diametrically opposed to their philosophies. So somebody won out in Microsoft to get this program up and running, where developers don't have to pay anything. Very small indie devs could just jump. Well, they pay $20, and they can get their game up and running and put on Microsoft Marketplace in Windows 10 and in the Microsoft ecospace with relative ease. Just
shout out. Yeah. Oh, shout out to Lord Fastback in the chat. He has got correcting us. He said actually Fortnite is not in the preview program, which is I'm assuming, I didn't even realize that. I thought it might have been, but it's not, is what he's saying. So pretty much, like, I guess is what is it, early access, I believe.
Early access,
yeah. So shout out to Lord Fastback for
God, there's too much. Thank you. It's too much stuff. There's too many access programs.
Yeah,
to me, obviously, honestly, I feel like that's just semantics. It's the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
That's all.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying, man. Playing for a
preview,
free-to-play
early
game
access. I mean,
playing for a free game. I don't know about that.
$150 for it. But yeah, so the Lords, we got a new poll cooking up at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. We'll have something cooking up on ILP Twitter. So let's get into these topics. So I want to start off with Lord Sov. There's a lot of news going on recently. Some top secret stuff. Does PS4 Pro have the secret sauce? I'm gonna give this topic to you, Lord Sov. What's going on?
This is a kind of late breaking news. I saw this for the first time last night, kind of late, on WCCF Tech. They posted an article talking about the AMD's RX Vega GPUs, which are set to launch next week, and basically talking about what kind of new features they bring to the table. And something in particular that was touched upon was the fact that they, for the first time, they're going to be introducing something called rapid packed math, and they RPM for short. And essentially, RPM for short. So basically, this feature, what it does is it allows, let's see how you put it. it takes floating point operations that function in the 16-bit space, and floating point operations that function in the 32-bit space are allowed to be broken down into two 16-bit operations, therefore making the operation faster. Basically, instead of running one 32-bit operation, you'll be running two 16-bit operations at the same time, attaining, which allows you to basically attain higher fidelity, higher frame rate, and higher graphical quality. So it's honestly, it's something that when implemented properly can be a game changer for middle of the road hardware.
Just not to cut you for a second, and this is tech. This is AMD tech, correct? That's inside the PS4 Pro.
Right. So the talk behind this was that, I don't know if you guys remember when we first started talking about the Xbox One X, there was talk coming out of Sony that yes, Xbox One X has 6 teraflops of GPU power, but technically the PS4 Pro, if we utilize this this rapid packed math feature, can run operations simultaneously, therefore jumping our GPU output to 8.4, meaning that we have more than the Xbox One X. It was a funny little argument amongst the fanboys about this sort of stuff. And the funny thing is that it may not necessarily be a lie. It may hold some truth. So Mark Cerny, ahead of the launch of the PS4 Pro,
snake oil salesman.
The snake oil salesman.
Stop it.
That's hilarious.
Continue.
Ahead of the launch of the PS4 Pro, he indicated that there were some future-proofing things that he put into the Pro in order to kind of stave off something like this, with Microsoft coming out with a more powerful console, and just to kind of follow the roadmap that AMD had in place for the next couple of years. Obviously, both Microsoft and Sony have AMD architecture in the machines, and so basically, the PS4 Pro is all set to go with this software. So the indication is, well, so far they've indicated that Far Cry 5 and Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus will be utilizing this technology from the ground up. So what's interesting is that the Xbox One X, at no point in time have they indicated that they included this in their SoC when they developed the X. So no one's come out and said that they have or that they haven't. But the assumption is that they haven't. Considering how powerful the system is, the assumption is that maybe they just thought it wasn't necessary because the brute strength of the system. Now, the thing is, with these games coming out now, particularly Wolfenstein that we're going to see in October, if this is built from the ground up utilizing this RPM technology, then we'll be able to get a pretty decent look at how games are going to scale across both systems, and if there's going to be a huge disparity between what's possible on the Pro and what's possible on the X1X. So it's interesting because, again, like you mentioned, the secret sauce, like in the beginning of this generation with the One, you know, with Resolution Gate and everything, that this talk came about of the Xbox One X having this secret sauce that they were going to be able to unlock the ESRAM and use it in conjunction with the cloud to outpower the PS4. And I mean, to date, none of that has come to fruition, and more than likely, that's not going to happen. I guess we'll still see cloud technology in the online component of Crackdown, but beyond that, we don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see the type of disparity between these two games when when Wolfenstein launches in October, and then later on next year when Far Cry comes, because it could be a selling point for the PS4 Pro if the disparity is not that large and they're able to sell the Pro at $100 difference than the Xbox One by the time the Xbox One X by the time this comes out. So it's an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, to talk about. This was very, very cool information. I definitely want to get the Lord's feedback. Let's start with Lord BRAP. Now that this new information as far as RPM has released as far as the PS4 Pro, what do you feel about this? How do you think this does this help, or where are you at with this in general?
It might help. It's hard to say. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's whether or not developers want to learn this new technology and then implement it. And if I'm willing to bet, dollars to donuts here. It's if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Sony first party. But I don't think we'll see third party really kind of dive into this and learn how to use this new technology. I think if anything, we'll see it used first party. But yeah, I mean, I've always thought that new technology like this always the onus of showing this technology always rests on first party studios.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I go back to the announcement of the Xbox One X, True 4K and all that, and I just looked at all that, and someone said snake oil or something earlier.
Yeah, snake oil salesman. Mark Cerny is a snake oil salesman. I stand by that, sir. I've seen you in the streets. I know you are a snake oil salesman. You do not look at me in my eyes when I talk to you.
Lord King doesn't respect Mark Cerny as a man. We'll get into that.
Look, Mark Cerny's a smart guy. I mean, he's
yes,
boring.
he is.
He's boring to listen to on stage, but
he fooled the whole Sony conglomerate into believing his stuff. So he is a very intelligent, smart man.
He fooled them into that too.
yes. You know, and I hope he's using that Blastmaster processing on the NAC 3. Because if anybody's been around long enough to understand, Blastmaster processing is what Sega came up with once they was getting their butts kicked by Nintendo. They said, we have a new processing power that will speed it up. It'll be faster than Nintendo. It'll be better than Nintendo. It only worked for Sonic. It was called Blastmaster processing. Research history is repeating itself. Sony is yelling out, we got RPM. Sounds like Blastmaster processing to me.
Hey, real quick, guys. B Money actually says in the live chat. Big shout out to B, by the way. What's up? B says that Ubisoft is using it on Far Cry 5 and Bethesda is using it on Wolfenstein.
Yes, that's a big deal. I mean, I'll jump in as soon as you finish, Lord BRAP.
I was gonna say, I mean, for me, at the end of the day, specs are nice, and look, these companies are they're tasked with selling us new hardware and getting us excited, and that's great. But at the end of the day, as a consumer, I'm like, okay, that sounds great, but I want to see real world performance. So I don't know if this is going to be a game changer for Sony, because I don't know what the end product's going to look like using this technology. So until I see it, I have a better understanding of the impact.
No doubt. Yeah, Lord BRAP, I hear where you're coming from. Proof's in the pudding. Yeah, I mean, this was interesting to me. I mean, I'm glad Lord Saw brought it to the table because, as a tech, I kind of love this kind of banter. I'm not going to lie. And it's one of those things where, kudos to Sony if it does help that computational performance, and it definitely improves the gap. And obviously, like Lord BRAP said, we have to see it in real world application with these games. Which is cool is that they are being implemented with Far Cry 5, like B Money said, and Bethesda using it on Wolfenstein. So I mean, it would be really cool to see if when those Digital Foundry reports come out and our man Richard Ledbetter he comes through and he starts breaking down title versus title and see how performance is. I will say this, it kind of eerily reminds me of when DX12 was announced. And when he got Xbox One, and honestly, we didn't get to see much of that in fruition on that hardware. So it's cool. It will be cool to see how the approach is, what Sony takes it, and who actually implements it. Because ultimately, like Lord BRAP said, it's up to the developer to implement this stuff into the console. And shout out to Lord Anchorman in the chat. He's teasing. He's like, does that mean Destiny 2 has no excuse not to be 1080 60 on these upgraded consoles? Lord Anchor, first of all, that is up to the developer. I am not a developer, and nor do I claim to be. So I'm not going to disrespect the good friends at Bungie when they say that the hardware is not capable when it's actually CPU bound. So let's not try to be armchair developers, sir. But anyway, Lord King, where are you at with this as far as this?
You already know how I feel about Mark Cerny. He said this back when they announced the Xbox One X, when it was their little secrets system. And he said, we can do 12 of mega flops, teraflops of floating points and all this other crap. If you break it down to 8-bit form, we listen, bro. Your system is what it is. Maybe you can do some trickery within the system and the software to boost it a little bit. That same trickery, they're running the same AMD GPU line. The bloodline is the same in the next box.
All right, but Lord King, not to cut you, but in his defense, in the defense, what this article is coming out is that this is something that the PS4 Pro did implement that the Xbox One did not. And they're talking about true computational performance.
Well, it's jumping from a
4.2 to teraflops to possibly 8.4.
Yeah, but it's a software, right?
Yeah. The thing about it, it's implemented into the hardware, but the issue is the caveat to this is this: not every operation can be split. Some operations need to be at the 32-bit level. Not every operation can be split. So it's going to be specific situations and circumstances.
Oh, I know when they're going to use it. I know when they're going to use it. In the title screen, when you're doing nothing.
I'm done with you.
I know when it's going to be used when it says, let's continue. I get it. Or loading. The loading bar is going to move at RPM speed.
I'm done.
So the loading bar is going to be 4K 60.
And then it's going to get back to the game. It's going to be 900p. Listen here.
I'm done with you.
I'm tired of the snake oil salesman. I will not fall for his stuff. I feel them doing it. I hope they do anything for this PlayStation Pro that I have in my house. I hope they do anything to get it to where it's super enjoyable and it's fun. They have some good games. Good. More the better. Show me with your actions, but not one time was I buying any of those games for that system, because I know for a fact that no matter what they do, they're still not going to be on the X caliber. So I'm going with the X on this. I don't care what Blastmaster processing you're doing over there in your title screens, but I'm going to be over here playing on this with the checkerboard and up to 4K.
This is hyperbole.
That's all it is. All is. Trying to put holes, trying to put their fingers inside the wall because they holes are starting to come out and start to leak all over the place. Get out of here.
Sounds like cell processing all over again.
Exactly. Every hardware generation, there's been this guy who yells out, "Processing power, we have discovered it," by the ones that are less powerful. Always. And here we go again, cell processing, when Xbox was slaughtering these guys in the street. It's like, but the cell processor, if we turn one on, well, hurry up and turn it on because y'all getting beat. So,
you out of control.
I'm done.
I just want to add real quick before I give it back to Lord Saul. This is like a Polish studio, Flying Wild Hog, and they actually make, I believe it was Shadow Warrior 2. And they are like ranting and raving as far as this tech and as far as the PS4 Pro being able to utilize it, and they're saying the ability to perform the 2 16-bit operations instead of the 1 32-bit operation. And they were asked if they feel this had the potential to radically increase the performance of games, and they were like raving. And they were just talking about how they feel like this, as far as not sacrificing imaging quality, and that these precision instructions they could get better performance. So at least one dev has stepped up and put their chest out in reference to RPM. But let me give it back to Saul. Let him finish off his topic.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just an interesting topic to talk about because, again, like the whole secret sauce thing with Xbox at the beginning of the generation, it just seems like it's coming back around. And then one thing you mentioned, Lord Cognito, that's very interesting is that very easily this type of stuff can turn into a big deal, especially when you consider Digital Foundry is going to get their hands on this stuff and break it down. Resolution Gate happened as a result of that, and honestly, the waves of how this generation has gone, a lot of it was based on that early difference in terms of resolution and stuff between the PS4 and the Xbox One and stuff like that. So if this becomes a real issue, and Digital Foundry is constantly breaking this down game to game, we're gonna see we're gonna see a lot more conversations about this stuff. It's gonna be
Absolutely.
Resolution Gate all over again.
Absolutely. Like I said, the fun thing about the fanboy stuff, I must admit, is it's like sports teams, and it's like I just love that Digital Foundry has housed this generation's, fanboy thing. So you look forward to that comparison to see who's gonna rage out when one outperforms the other. So it will be funny, I will say that. But we are going to move on, if the Lords are cool, on the PS4 Pro, the RPMs and the secret sauce kind of stuff. And we're going to move on. So actually, my boy Lord Addict, he is not here yet. So, but I still wanted to talk about his topic real briefly.
No,
I
just came in.
Oh, the co-host with the co-host, right on time.
I'm sorry, man. I
know.
Like, I guess I didn't take off my Bluetooth on my phone, so I didn't hear my alarm.
Oh man, I'm good to have you, Rob. I was like, damn, I'm messing with this some topics. I was dying. You missed the poll. I wanted to talk to you about that, but we'll get back.
I'm so happy that he missed the poll. I lost, Addict. I lost bad.
Just for recap, Lord Addict, it was the most one-sided poll in ILP history.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
My man's in the building. If you're ready, I was gonna pass it off to you. I was gonna talk about real quickly because I know it's one of the hottest things out here as far as Lawbreakers and Cliffy B, and I know you wanted to bring that to the table. So do you want to set this thing off, Lord Addict?
Yeah. So what I really wanted to mention and is as of right now, we the whole Cliffy, give me a second. I'm still having.
We got one more.
Yeah. Well, as of right now, Lawbreakers. We don't really know the sales on PlayStation, but it looking like on PC. It's kind of been
player count's low.
Yeah, player count's low. So what I wanted to ask the table is, do you feel that if this would have came out on Xbox, would it have gotten better results than it's getting as of right now?
Anyone wants to jump in? I know Lord BRAP has a lot to say on this. I remember I heard his topic on this.
Yeah, I actually listened to his podcast last night at work.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, if you want to go in on that, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, a couple things. I went in on the fanboy piece because there's people out there, shouting, "Oh, this is karma," or "I hope the game fails. This is what you get for turning your back on the people that made you." And I'm like, "Are you guys clowns? Like, seriously? Like, what's wrong with people? Like, you call yourself a gamer, you're wishing, a game to fail? Like, what's that about?" But that's another rant. We actually we talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago. I think on BRAP 2. I think with Randolph Thor. I think most of us on the panel on BRAP thought that had the game came on Xbox, it may have been one of those games that actually might have done better on Xbox because it's a shooter. Right. We know that shooters tend to do well on that console. And obviously we don't know for sure, but at least I thought my opinion of this is that it may have done better, just given how popular shooters are on the Xbox console. It's an online game. We've seen the engagement numbers for Xbox Live; they're high. Shooters tend to do well. I mean, it very well could have done better, possibly. Don't know for sure.
Yeah, you could never know for sure.
You could never know. Yeah, but that's with Lawbreakers, it's an arena-based shooter. It's kind of a throwback to the Unreal Tournament, Quake games. How popular are those games now as shooters when we have games out like Destiny, Call of Duty, Battlefield? I think Cliffy's kind of in a tough predicament too. I don't know that there's a demand for those kind of shooters anymore. I think the genre's kind of evolved a little bit.
It's like I said for Lord Anchorman, like what I see on it, because I haven't played it yet because I don't have a PlayStation at the moment. But what I've noticed is I feel like this game would have really took off if Overwatch wasn't already out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually agree with that. I think that's a good statement. And didn't Lord Overwatch drop some content also around the same time, like a huge update?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of tough, man. This is a good one. I just wanted to ask Lil Brap one question before we pass it off to the rest of the round table. Do you feel, as far as I've been here, obviously I know you made a funny point as far as fanboy saying it's karma, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel about people who say Cliffy B, he's very outspoken.
Mhm.
And he was on that Twitter. He was in them Twitter streets. He was talking. So do you feel like, some people saying like his over aggressiveness, or maybe, I mean, he even made some comments about, I believe, the Xbox One X development cycle, some little touchy subjects that rub, I guess, some fanboys the wrong way and stuff like that. How do you feel about his comments in general, in reference, to this kind of stuff prior to Lawbreakers?
I remember the comment about the it's BS, developers are lying to you or something to that effect. I think it was a response to, it was a response to somebody tweeting him, well, hey, how come Lawbreakers isn't going to go on Xbox? It's easy to port over to Xbox. And he was addressing that question. I don't have a problem with how he interacts with the community, but people act like Cliffy B, just comes out and just curses people out for no reason. And it's like the guy who and Eric Jackson, who's in the live chat, he got banned by this guy, but Eric called this guy out for throwing shade at Cliffy B. But the guy was like tweeting, "Oh, Cliffy B told me to eat a bag of penises." And I can't believe he said that to me. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you're leaving out the part where you basically accuse him of taking a payoff.
Facts.
Like, what do you like? And this is the problem. Like, you can't be a keyboard warrior, throw shade out there, and when someone punches back, be like, "Oh, he hit me! Oh my God, did you see what he did?" I mean, like, that's not the way the world works. Like, if you throw shade out there, you're going to get shade back by people, and you can't cry about it. You can't cry about it because you put yourself in that situation.
I agree, and I got to give Cliffy this, and I'll pass it off to the rest. Before I pass it, is that he's not afraid to mix it up.
Nope.
Like most devs, they'll take the high road, and he will get back in the mix and get at you. So shout out to Lord Eric Jackson in the chat. It's like, I'm glad he actually asked that fanboy, well, what did you say to initiate said comment? You know what I mean? And, again, like I said, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And he busts his gun back. So I thought that was interesting. But Lord King, Lord Sav, you want to jump in on this as far as the Lawbreakers thing?
I'll let Solve go first. I'll end up on it.
I think it's very possible that it could have done better on Xbox, just because of that association people have with Cliffy B and the 360 and Gears of War. I mean, people they gravitate to him like they sort of own him, and that's not the right way to go about things. But at the same time, that is the feeling. So that's why people, however ridiculous it is or not, they feel betrayed when he goes to the opposing system. But yeah, I think something that BRAP mentioned also is a big factor, is the fact that these type of games may not necessarily be popular right now. If it's kind of in the vein of an Unreal, they actually have Unreal Champions coming out. It's in beta right now, and again, it's very much an Unreal game. They haven't really done much to it in terms of modernizing it. As of right now, you can pretty much run it on anything, and it feels like it's a test bed to see if people want this stuff. And to truth be told, the people who want Unreal can go play Unreal, but I don't think they're going to invest a serious amount of money into it. So again, it may be just a time and place thing. That this is not the type of game that people are looking for now. First-person shooters, arena-based or otherwise, have evolved a lot over the past 10 to 15 years. And gamers are looking for something different, something more. I think Overwatch is so popular. Yeah. And I know we had many discussions about, a $60 multiplayer only game. But I think it's been so popular because of the level of polish that it has, and how those characters. It is very balanced. It plays kind of like an RTS with first-person shooter sensibilities, so that gives you kind of more of an attachment to the characters. Whereas so far, these characters seem like they're kind of typical, archetypical, like, dude bro stuff and stuff like that. Again, I haven't had a chance to look at it in depth, but it just seems like games with that sort of dude bro mentality just don't fly as much nowadays. It's got to be more to it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Lord King, you want to jump in on this on Cliffy?
Yeah. Well, At E3, I played both versions of the game. I played the PC version twice and played the PlayStation Pro version twice. And I came away from the game impressed, but I knew going up against Overwatch, it would have a steep hill to climb because it was so much like Overwatch that it was like overt. Well, any game that comes now is going to be compared to Overwatch. Yeah, Battleborn that came out, and they went head to head with Overwatch, and they lost miserably.
Yeah, at least Lawbreakers came out this far after Overwatch, because this game's getting compared to Overwatch, but not nearly as bad as Battleborn did.
Yeah, but they're touting the numbers that they did worse than Battleborn.
Yeah, that's concerning.
So-
That is
Yeah,
Because
concerning.
if I remember correctly, Battleborn pretty much didn't make any money.
No, this game isn't going to make any money either. I don't believe if it was put on Xbox that it would do the numbers that Xbox guys would do. Yeah, probably, a little bit better. Would it outperform all three platforms? Seeing the landscape, you would say the PC would outperform both platforms, but being that Overwatch is an investment, it's not just, you put down your $60. These guys have invested serious amounts of time and money inside Overwatch, and the content has been regular.
Yeah,
They've been dropping down content so regular that they have given you cheaper versions of last year's content at the same time that they drop new content. So they're slashing prices on old content while dropping new content. So at any point in time, you jumping in, you have this plethora of gaming tools at your hands where you just get this new game that's just launched and is in its infancy. I don't believe that Cliffy B's name attached to it will push sales, because a lot of these people is like, who Cliffy who? And if his best market was Xbox, he missed that market. I think the game would have did poorly on Xbox because it would have probably been 720. Looking at Digital Foundry, this is the truth, because looking at Digital Foundry, the PlayStation, the base PlayStation, has struggled to keep its 60 frames per second. It's been hovering at 30. People have been saying, why don't you have the 30 cap frame rate? And when I did play it was slow, even on the Pro. And that's without all the effects on. It's 1440p, so it's not true 4K. It's upscaled. Listen, on consoles, this game, it's not its optimum environment. The optimal environment is on the PC. Now, if you want to release it for the Xbox One X as an exclusive PC comparable game, maybe it'll do well there, because there it can actually keep that 4K frame rate and that 60 frames per second, I believe, because the game doesn't show any technical prowess, like it can't be done. So maybe it might come out then. Maybe he's holding that card for then, but I think the game dies before November.
Oof.
Wow.
I think if it drops on the Xbox One X as an exclusive, because it's Cliffy B, I think it would probably do well. I think a lot of people who own Xbox One X when it drops would go out and buy this game because it's exclusive.
I would,
because it's exclusive to the Xbox One X, runs at 60 frames. Let's assume it runs at a solid 60, and it's Cliffy B. They go, oh yeah, like this game's exclusive on the One X, and it's Cliffy B. I think people, that hype alone, I think would probably churn out some decent sales for him.
I agree. I shout out to Fast back in the chat. I mean, he made a good point. He was like, what if, like I said, they associated Cliffy with it, and there was like some exclusive Gears of War character, almost similar to kind of like how what was the soccer game? Rocket League had implemented Halo characters and stuff. I mean, Halo racers and stuff like that. I mean, there could have been some real creative things that they could have done with marketing. It's one of the things like, I definitely feel like as an Xbox One X, it would help a little bit. But I also agree with Lord King in the sense that sometimes it's just about timing, sometimes it's just about timing of when you have a release date. And, I think coupled with the fact Overwatch is in that space, it's a tough battle, to kind of compete with that. So I think it may be one of those things that's like a slow burn, where if he continues to support it, continues to add stuff, it may bounce back almost like a Rainbow Siege kind of thing, but it would have to be continued support. I feel, they can't just walk away from it, if the initial numbers, don't do as well as they can. So But yeah, it was a good topic. Anyone else have anything else to say on Lawbreakers before we move on?
Yeah, I was gonna actually comment on my topic, but
Oh, I'm sorry, Lord. Forgot you. Sorry.
But I mean, when it comes down to it, it's like, look, like, would this game have done better on Xbox? Like you guys said, we have no clue. I do feel like, for the most part, you know, shooters generally gravitate towards Xbox. You know, people get really mad when I say that. That's one of the reasons that single player games flop on Xbox. I mean, look at it when you took it to the perspective of all the single player oriented games that Microsoft has made this generation. They've all pretty much flopped. What has Microsoft not made? Multiplayer experience besides Halo. I mean, the only game that they've really came out with was Titanfall, and what did that do? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, you know, it's just like Basement Radio said. When you have a game that's a shooter, first off, it's got to be a shooter because that's the entire infrastructure. That's the whole foundation that Microsoft has built this brand on.
Definitely the strength of Xbox. I agree.
And you know, if they would have came out, it would have been exclusive, not even just for the X. Like now, you know, exclusive in PC. I do feel like there would have been a more surge of people picking it up on the Xbox. But the thing is has the inflation, has the Overwatch so big in the market, could it have made room regardless?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because I do feel like that's the reason that it flopped on PC, is because people tried it on the demo and was like, this is Overwatch, but Overwatch is better. I'm completely content that people thought about that, because if you think about it, on PC, Overwatch is way bigger on consoles.
Yeah.
So people didn't want to play the game when they had a better version already.
It also ran into PUBG on PC too.
Yeah.
That's another juggernaut.
That's a juggernaut because it's completely different from Overwatch.
That's why I also, but not to cut you, Lord BRAP, I also felt like that it just comes down to timing, man. It's just two beasts. You have one in its own genre, and then you have PUBG. It's like, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, but all right. So if the Lords are finished on that, we are going to...
I do want to make a statement right now about the comment section. I completely agree, Fastback. You're the only person I've ever talked to that's been in the chat that agreed that Quantum Break wasn't the greatest game.
It wasn't the greatest.
I mean, poor Quantum Break, man. They had a lot of marketing about it. And then the game changed a couple times too, I believe, as far as
it did.
Episodic movie interaction.
The problem was, besides that, it's just the fact that coming from Remedy, who are known for their shooting mechanics, the shooting mechanics in this game were meh, and they're not very good. That's disappointing.
It felt like a last-gen game for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. It felt like Don Matrix effect.
I'm done.
I think you know what it was. He should have took that game with him when he went to go do that Lego project over there in the corner, because he screwed the game up when he linked it straight to TV. That
was when they wanted.
See, that's where I think it went wrong. Is, you know, it might not have so well, but you know, people who played all of it, I played like 10 minutes of it, but people who played all of it, they felt like it was a good game, and I'm just like, look, like that. And what's sad is that kind of game should have did good on Xbox, because you know that's kind of, you know, the adrenaline junkie game that is on Xbox. But it's like, look, like, when it comes down to it, I felt like the scenes were too long. A lot of people told me it felt like it disconnected them.
Yes, absolutely.
So by the time that's over, you're already done with the whole game. It's like, I don't even know if I want to play Chapter 2.
Yeah. No, I feel it disconnects you.
I'm going to be honest. The story I thought was cool, especially what happened with the girl and how she got stuck back in time. But that could have been conveyed in gameplay. That could have been conveyed without having a half-hour movie behind it. Like, no.
I felt like if you would have took the movie aspect, and I really, like, you know, this is completely left, but I feel like if you would have played as the antagonist when he was at his prime, I think the game would have did way better. Because I felt like the antagonist was more interesting than the main character.
Littlefinger. Everybody loves Littlefinger. Listen, Microsoft purchased a studio. They had all these guys under contract, and they had to put out a game. Period. Game's up.
It is what it is.
That's it.
Let's move on. We're going a little left with Quantum Break included.
Yes.
Exactly. So, Lord Sov, I want to throw it back to you. I know you wanted to talk about that Hellblade. Got a little review and some other single player stuff you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm going to talk about Hellblade and my time with it and what I thought of the game, and then I'm going to segue that into kind of how that relates to what's happening with single player games now, and those that are being utilized to sell us single player games and single player content. So, so to start off, like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is the latest game from the guys at Ninja Theory. So Ninja Theory, the guys, you might remember them as they're the developers of Heavenly Sword on the PS3. They did Enslaved Odyssey to the West on the 360, and they were also behind DMC, the Devil May Cry reboot with the crackhead Dante. That's very
Dante. It's funny.
Gameplay was great, but crackhead Dante not so much. So right off the bat, if you're coming to this game with the expectation that a Ninja Theory game brings along with it, which is, third person, combat heavy, systems heavy, XP, weapon and armor progression, action game, you're going to be disappointed. This game is not that game. Hellblade is a fairly linear, narrative-based third-person game. It has some action elements, but it's definitely not an action game. It's actually kind of funny that we're talking about this game this week, because last week we were talking about walking simulators, and how I felt that these type of games were only really worked in first person because you needed to feel like you were kind of immersed in this character's world, and you needed to feel like you were inhabiting this character's persona in order to like fully understand what was happening to them within the narrative of the story and the game world. But Senua kind of immediately debunks that, because in essence, it is a third-person walking simulator. Hellblade is Senua's story, and every environmental and gameplay element within the game is in service of telling that story, which is a very, very personal story. So make no mistake, this is a narrative-based game.
Right.
So just to give a quick overview of the overarching story without spoiling anything.
Not spoiling for us.
Not spoiling at all. Just to give you the basic through line of the story. So the game is based on Celtic and Norse mythology. So if you're familiar with these stories and these names, or if you've watched a Thor movie over the past couple of years, you'll probably be immediately familiar with names like Odin, Hel, Freya, Frost Giants, Jotunheim, Ragnarok. So all of these terms come up during the course of the game. So basically, Senua is a Celtic warrior who suffers from psychosis or schizophrenia, which basically manifests itself as hallucinations, and also this feeling that she hears multiple voices in her head.
That's what I've been hearing about that. Yeah, these voices.
Yeah. So basically, when her entire village, including not her husband, basically her beloved, the one person that she's always been an outsider because of her, because of this condition she has. So the one man who's ever paid her any mind and showed her any compassion is murdered along with the entire village, and they're murdered by Vikings. As a result of this, she has like a huge psychotic breakdown, and like her feelings of guilt and responsibility for what's happened kind of overcome her. And so what she does is that she ventures out into the wilds, basically trying to gain access to the underworld, to go and save his soul and bring him back. So that's the crux of the story. But the thing is, and in doing that, she also has to combat and try to overcome her affliction, which within the story they call it the darkness, basically.
It's creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
The darkness.
Yeah, the darkness.
It's extremely creepy, man. I didn't.
That's where the darkness went.
I literally just watched a YouTube video, and I
Yeah.
ironically had my headset on that I got from E3, so they're
Mhm.
real big on surround sound. I watched
Mhm.
like 22 seconds. I was like, "Yeah, this ain't for me." Yeah, but
Freaky, man. Shout out to Nick.
it's not even the way they're talking. It's not even what they're saying. It's just the way they're. It literally put shivers down my spine. Like it really did.
I'm interested, man. I love that.
I've actually heard
Brad.
I've heard people say that the game's actually giving them fatigue because it does such a great job simulating psychosis with the voices that people have had to stop playing the game because it just became overwhelming for them mentally.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. They do a fantastic job at conveying that.
Get me hyped off. I'm at the cops.
It's really creepy. Like even if like they tell you from the outset, play this game with headphones, not even surround sound, play with headphones because you get that sensation of a voice being right behind your ear and it's all around you. So yeah, well, I'll segue into the gameplay. So that was the basic crux of the story. So gameplay wise, again, it's simple, narrative based, linear gameplay. You sort of traverse the world you got to pass through doors that are locked by rune symbols. And basically you have to find these symbols, these shapes within the world and kind of overlap them and find them within the world and then focus on them. And that allows that opens the runes up and allows you to pass through the door. So that's basically the crux of the traversal of the game. You trying to make your way to the underworld. If there's a criticism I have of the game is that it feels a little clunky sometimes. It's not the most intuitive sometimes if you can't find the rune within the world, because again, it could be hidden in the architecture, it could be hidden like on the floor, like you have to look around. And if you don't find it quickly, it can kind of slow the pace of the game to a crawl. It can get a little frustrating, so that's a little wonky, but besides that, it's fine. In terms of the combat again is very straightforward and simple. Combat is only available in combat situations. Like you can't just, while you're walking around the world, you can't pull your sword out and start swinging. Like it's not available to you. Only when a combat situation is presented to yourself, you'll see that she'll pull her sword out and allow you to fight. But combat again,
hype, bro. This sounds crazy.
This game is something else. Like so, the combat is again light swipe, heavy swipe, melee attack, evade, and block.
Now, do they mess with you with her condition during the fights?
During the fights, yeah. Well,
see, what I want you fight someone and he pulls back, and then her condition starts going up, and you see like 3 of them.
That will be fighting. There are moments you will be fighting 3 or 4 at the same time, and generally, all of the guys that you're fighting don't feel like they're like normal warriors. Like they do feel like they have a supernatural element to them. So yeah, in all likelihood, these are manifestations in her head. And yeah, you will fight 4 at a time sometimes, and you have to dodge around them. And in that, the fighting is beautiful, but it's very simple. It's all about seeing patterns, blocking, dodging around guys. You also have a focus button, and when you hurt them enough, you can focus and you slow down time, and you can do more damage on them. So that's the combat. Graphics. This game is stunning. Absolutely stunning. Ninja Theory has always been known for their work on mocap, and with this game they take it a step further with in terms of facial mapping. The actress that plays Senua, who is actually not really an actress, she's one of the devs. She decided they put her into the mocap room one day. Yeah, she's one of the devs.
Are you serious? Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dope.
They put her into the mocap thing one day to see what would happen, and they just stuck with her, and she does an absolutely amazing job. So the game is absolutely beautiful. Honestly, the environments are fantastic, but again, it's very linear. So you can walk around to the sides of things, but not really. It's not open really. But the vistas are beautiful. What else was I gonna say? Like little things like water effects aren't necessarily the greatest. When water hits onto the beach, it doesn't look super great, but the waves do look fantastic. When she walks into the water, she doesn't come out wet. So just little things like that it's not 100% AAA game. One of the most fantastic aspects of this game is the sound, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
They use
That
binaural.
immersive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What they use is what they call binaural recording. So basically, what the actors did is they had them walking around, literally walking around a microphone, recording their lines, so that the voices come from different angles. So when you're playing the game, there could be any number of voices talking to you. You have one general voice it's a female that kind of narrates Senwa's story. And talks more about like her condition and what she's going through. And then you have multiple other voices that they could be berating her, they can be insulting her, they could be supportive, they can tell her don't do this, do this. As a matter of fact, in combat, oftentimes when somebody's behind you, they'll tell you behind you, and then you'll have to duck and get out of the way.
Nice.
So, but again, the voices can be. The voices can be it's crazy. That's crazy.
Behind you. Remember that little kid?
Yes.
Behind you.
you.
Yeah, we remember that. So, yeah, I mean, that to me, the sound is one of the greatest triumphs of this game. So yeah, actually, I mean, again, to wrap it up quickly, I think it's a beautiful game. I think it should be experienced by every single gamer. It does an excellent job of conveying mental illness in a very like respectful way, and what it does is convey it. What happened? What's
I was just laughing at the fact that he said that is showing mental illness in a very respectful light.
Well,
as nice as mental illness can be.
well, this is the thing. You could go really sideways, and you could go really sideways when you do something and you don't take the time to do it properly and convey it correctly, because you could insult someone.
They did a lot of research. They put a lot of research into psychosis.
Definitely did.
Yeah, from what I heard, they did their research on this one.
So.
And for $30 bucks, right? They're only 30.
$30.
Shout out to whatever Jackson said. Wow.
Yeah.
The team was really small too that did it.
Well, that's gonna. All right, let's segue again. The game's fantastic. Everybody needs to play it. It's fantastic. So to segue into my next thing, again, I want to address how this game was made, because this game from the very beginning, Ninja Theory dubbed it as an indie AAA game. They decided not to go with a big third-party publisher. They published in-house. They developed in-house. 15 members of Ninja Theory worked on this game. 15. The budget for this game is somewhere around $10 million. A $10 million budget for this game. That is
They definitely made it back too.
Oh yeah. I think they needed to sell something like 500,000 copies to make to make it back. So what I know
that's going to push north of $1 million, because it did well.
Yeah. Word of mouth alone. The PC version, again, the PS4 version, Pro version looks fantastic. They're adding HDR later on, so it's going to be even more beautiful.
Shout out HDR.
Yeah. And the PC version has to be amazing. So in talking about how this game was made, right? Small team, small budget, excellent price point, but AAA sensibilities. And you're thinking, if you want to think about now how a lot of our first-person games are coming down the pipeline, especially with this talk of the Shadow of War getting microtransactions and blind loot boxes. Do you think that developing a game in this way, the way Hellblade was made, is that a viable solution to us to continuing to get solid first-person stories in the future? Or are we kind of stuck with this model that they're starting to implement now with bigger single-player games, where they're going to start charging us and potentially kind of grossly start charging us for single-player content, kind of play-to-win content in a single-player game, blind loot boxes where you can spend an insane amount of money before you get what you want. So what do we think? Is this the model that we're going to see, or should we see more of this happen with Senwa?
I feel like, do I think that everyone's just going to change because this game's being successful? That's a hard thing to ask, because I feel like, for the most part, this might be an exception to what would do good. But all this game does is make games like Recore look horrible because it's $10 cheaper than Recore. and it makes ReCore look bad visually, looks bad every wise it could possibly do. So, you know, I do feel like certain companies are trying this. It's like, you know, I brought up ReCore. Do I feel like other companies might jump on this? Like, I feel like for the most part, these, you know, the Hellblade, it's unique, and I think that's what's making it sell more. I think people would have paid $60 for this title.
Yep.
So, you know, maybe it wouldn't be as sold as it is, but I feel like it would have did good at 60. I mean, when it comes to the game itself, I couldn't tell you anything about it. You know why? Because you know, our last topic, a game Microsoft slipped through their fingers. This topic, a game Microsoft slipped through their fingers. I ain't played neither of these games we'd be talking about. Like, it's because I'm on the console that feels like, you know, they're gonna let everything go to the PlayStation first. So,
hey, Lord BRAP, you want to jump in on this Hellblade as well as the single player model?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the single player things has been something that's been, you know, talked about a lot more recently, given, you know, Phil Spencer's comments a couple months ago about story-driven games versus games as a service.
I will say one thing, though, if you don't mind me interrupting you.
Go ahead.
This is definitely like, you know, would you guys think this game existed if, you know, developers like Telltale didn't make Clicking Adventures?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's just a model, man.
I do feel like this will evolve that genre even more.
Yeah.
I think
Ninja Theory. Yeah, I think Ninja Theory, they made it clear. Like they said, you know what, this is a game that we wanted to make for a long time, and we didn't want any interference from a publisher or anything like that. So we decided to make it in house and use our own funds and just to make the game we wanted to make. If that means that they had to kind of hold back on certain technical aspects of it, it's not evident in the game at all.
Right. So shout out to Lord Megatron in the chat. He's going at Lord Addict. He's like, hey, relax. He loved ReCore.
Hey, how many of you guys actually beat that game? Go ahead. I'll wait.
It's not the fact that how many people beat the game, it's how many people purchased the game. I actually really like the game, and I love the art direction of the game. So I mean, I'm not gonna bag on ReCore. I actually looking forward for ReCore too.
No,
the things that is missing out of ReCore that was promised
about ReCore. I've been very bonus.
Like,
you know,
let's get it back to Lord BRAP. We stepped on him just now. We got to get it back.
I'm sorry.
No worries. No. So, you know, with that conversation it's been having that you know, because of Phil Spencer's comments about first party games and, you know, games as services and first party single player driven games not really having legs in terms of generating revenue over a period of time. And the increasing cost of game development. Look, let's face it. Like, people want 4K, but they don't understand that when you want 4K, and now developers have to create 4K assets, that also increases the cost of development.
Nobody wants 4K. People just got the perception that in people's heads that people want 4K.
I'll take 1080p 60 all day.
Facts. Talk
all in the same.
And I can get on my soapbox and talk about 4K.
Yeah, me too.
We're still not even getting 1080p. So, but yeah, I mean, I think my thought on this is I really wanted to see this game do well, and it sounds like it is doing well because Ninja Theory, they set out to make a game with AAA production values that didn't, you know, blow the budget, that would give gamers, you know, a nice 7-8 hour experience, and they did that, and I think that shows that you don't have to have a $200 million budget to put out AAA type game that's good. I think they've shown that you don't have to do that. And I think that this is a great thing for the industry. And I hope a lot of gamers go out and support this game because I want to see more games like this. I want to see games that are $30 that give me good 8-hour experience, that give me AAA value, that have a strong single player narrative driven content. That's what I want. And you can't beat that for $30. There's games that are $60 that can't even do that, and then have $100 million budgets. So you got to think if a team of 15 can do it, why can't a team of 100 do it?
You know what else is pretty funny? And in the chat acting like he wants to play 4K so he can play Friday and 2K more better.
Listen, there are some advocates for it, but I agree with Lord BRAP, man. I mean, I take 1080 60 every day. I mean, I hear what you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna not want 4K. I have a 4K television, and I love HDR. I think, honestly, I don't think HDR is talked about enough. I feel that's what really sets the difference.
I think Microsoft and Sony has successfully turned the entire console industry into a bunch of PC people.
No doubt.
But even aren't always
yeah,
playing 4K native, they're doing 1440, 60 frames,
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, like I saw, this is a good topic as far as the Hellblade. I'm very excited about it. Sounds amazing. This is definitely a game that's up my alley. I mean, for $30, y'all, like that's amazing. Like Lil BRAP said, I mean, this is beating a lot of AAA $60 titles. They could have easily charged $60, and I think people would have still went out and purchased this thing. So I mean, the only thing I want to bring as far as the single player model is just that, like, I think ultimately, there's a lot of discussion going on right now that I'm seeing in the industry as far as, how does single player model move forward, and you got to think like the opposite was say for like a Shadow of War that's coming, right? And we obviously heard about those microtransactions and stuff like that. And I'm in the boat that's like, you know what? I don't want the single player model to die, and it's one of those things that I feel that we've got to go out and support these quality games like a Hellblade. You know what I mean?
You gotta support uniqueness, or we're just gonna get a bunch of mediocrity for the rest of our life.
But I'm also gonna say something controversial. I also feel that, like a Shadow of War, when they introduce microtransactions, everyone throws their hands up. Oh, this is a travesty. I will not buy this game because of that. You have to vote with your wallet. But I also understand the production costs of these games. And like Phil said, he wasn't trying to disrespect single player games, but if you look at it from a long-term perspective, it's not viable. A single player game, when you beat that game, it's done. Right? There's really no incentive to come back unless there's some DLC content or something after that. And you look at a multiplayer game, let's say, for example, like a NBA 2K, and Lord King knows, like, Magic and Neil and these guys.
You got people spending $3 or $4, $60 on this.
They're putting $100 down on VC for virtual currency for their NBA guys. You know what I'm saying?
Just to get them to dunk a certain way and look a certain way.
Exactly. So I can't get mad at the single player devs and
looking at you, Amp.
This revenue. And yeah, they're sitting there and they're like, look, how can we get a piece of this pie to continue to support the game? Now, do I agree with all practices? No. There are some that are shady. So you have to vote with your wallet. But I can't get mad at the single player dev that says, you know what, we got to try to do something to generate revenue. You know what I mean? So I don't want the genre to die. I want to support games like Hellblade. I had a question for the roundtable real quick. Is there any chance this thing is coming to Xbox, or this is just a ninja theory? This is strictly in Sony in-house?
I think because if that's the case, I think this is legit. We only had enough money for one port at the time.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Because it costs like $5,000 just to give a certification patch to these consoles. Just a patch. Imagine what it costs to put an entire game up for certification.
Facts.
Yeah.
Lord King, you want to jump in?
Oh, well, okay. I saw the game. I have like a backlog of games, and I said I was gonna get into the game. If it would have been along the vein of what was that? Hellblade, the first one. What was it? Hellblade or
Heavenly Sword? Heavenly Sword.
Heavenly Sword. Yes, Heavenly Sword. See, that was one of my best PlayStation 3 launch titles. I thought it was fantastic. I love the fact that, they took the God of War and had a female God of War type of thing. And I guess they didn't want two competing like hack and slash on the same system coming from first party developers. And they just like lost funding because I think Hellblade was supposed to be in that same vein, and they went in a different direction. These guys didn't give up their dream, and they stuck with it, and from all intents and purposes they achieved their goal with the 15 people, the mocap from a developer that was in-house. So they kept all the money close, they kept everything close, and they found new and special ways to keep the single player engaged from what I'm hearing, like the headphones. Put your headphones on. Remember when we used to sit in our room with our headphones on and our parents was upstairs and we trying to be quiet and play our
Remember the days of
games?
playing like Resident Evil and Silent Hill in the dark,
Yes.
and we say, "Play, be quiet," because you want to immerse yourself in that kind of experience. Absolutely.
And they're bringing that feel back, or for us, bringing it back and introducing this feel for the new gamers to feel that immersion. Not necessarily, oh, my friend is online, let's get online, and that loud chatter and that all that. No. Tone it down. Get in a dark room, put your headset on, and get immersed in the psychosis.
Yeah, I feel like this game would actually mess with me. Resident Evil 7 didn't too much, but I feel like this game
never mess with me with that VR. I'm so sorry.
Me,
I gotta have people in the room with me with that game.
Like there was only 1 or 2 times that, like, you know, like that made me jump. But like I ain't even joke with you guys. 30 seconds of this game had shivering, like a chill down my spine.
I love
because it was just the way I never heard audio like that. It was like, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, what is this chick talking about, man? Like,
but like Lord Cognito said, timing for me, it'll be in a backlog. I will definitely get it. It'll be in a backlog, because I just picked up Persona 5 for my PlayStation. So. And I'm gonna get into that the JRPG, but this experience is something that I want to experience. And any gamer that's feeling a lull in video games right now, who happens to have that one console or both consoles, dive in. It's cheap enough for you to jump in without any buyer's remorse afterwards, and you might be treated to something fantastic. Put those Call of Duty headsets to work right now.
Yeah, devs, if any of these devs are watching this, if you make your game $30, some gamers look at your game and be like, if it sucked, I only paid $30. So people will take a risk for $30.
Yeah, you know what? They will. That's such a great point. It's a softer blow than saying, oh, I paid $60. Damn,
even 40 people would. When you make a game $60, as fair on comparison it is, they compare your stuff to Call of Duty, to Destiny. They compare it to anything else with a $60 price tag.
Yep.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is a great topic, Sov, and I'm glad you definitely reviewed that game, because people need to hear about it. And I love to promote quality titles like that, and it's good to see the single player genre still living strong. You know what I mean? And it's definitely a hot topic. So, any of the Lords got anything else to say on HellBlade and single player before we move on?
All I have to say is, well, look at it and then say, it makes me low key want a PS4. Yo. Sony, buy that game. If Ant is in this chat section saying he low key,
if Ant saying that, if Lord Ruler saying that, that's a big deal.
Yeah. When it comes to it, it's like, look, like, I want this game to do 5 million plus. I want this game to be so successful that people can't overlook it, because I'm so sick and tired of the same. What kills me these days about single player experiences is people make some bad single player experiences and they wonder why they flopped. And it's like, look, multiplayer is a little bit different perspective, because you can put your friends, the experiences you have with your friends, and it heightens the whole game. It's like Friday, trash, but because of my friends, it was fire. So, like, you got, multiplayer, the multiplayer aspect can make the game better, but when it comes to single player, undoubtedly you are being compared to Fallout, you're being compared to Shadow of War, you're being compared to Skyrim, because these games, they're the best single players out there. And people, when you have third party good single player games, they generally make them good, but for some reason people will make bad single player games like Quantum Break and be like, why didn't it sell?
God, this guy
love throwing Quantum Break.
Man, I just gotta keep saying this guy.
I just love throwing dirt on Quantum Break.
Well, look. Normally, I'll throw Overwatch. Not Overwatch. I'll throw Sunset Overdrive in that.
Don't do that either.
It's like, look, it's like, look. Sunset Overdrive is a fun game. I promoted it from trash to average, okay? That is a lot for me, okay? But my issues with some of these games is I don't understand who they're for. It's like Sunset Overdrive. It's a fun game, but it's like, you know, it had
maybe it's just not for
Not
you,
for that. I was gonna say that, but I thought it was gonna sound
okay.
rude.
Apparently, it's not for the majority because that game sold like trash.
Oh Lord, here we
so
go.
no. Explain to me if the game sold bad
I don't
and
want
it's
to go
not for
into
me.
it.
Maybe I'm the majority and you guys.
I don't
want
to go into it too because obviously the sales do reflect that it didn't do as well as it should.
See, all I'm saying is
I'm gonna let you finish. I'll let you finish. All I'm saying is that sometimes you do need diversity titles on a console. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. No, I'm not saying like, you know, Microsoft just stopped making single player experience games. It's ludicrous.
Oh, Lord Ank is coming for you. He says so that Sunset Overdrive is better than Halo Wars 2. It's about to be on.
Hey, I bet you Halo Wars 2 has made more money than Sunset Overdrive.
Look, let's move on.
Would it made as much money without the Halo title? That's the question.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. But would Sunset Overdrive has sold the way it did without the Insomniac brand behind that?
Lord BRAP.
Let me real quick. I have one more thing I want to say on the topic before we move on.
Come on, y'all. We got to move on.
Finish it out quick. All right. So yeah, once again, everybody play the game, get the game, play it any which way you can. In terms of the single player stuff, I'm okay with any of the models that are out now. Even the you
just got to make good games.
The DLC stuff, even the pay to win stuff, because it's a single player thing. If it only affects you, you want to run around that world, do whatever you want. My only worry, and it's something that we didn't touch on, is the fact that the potential for them to develop the game with that grindiness in mind to sort of force you into wanting to buy that content, to sort of skip over stuff that they purposely made made grindy. Like if you look at phone games and how they're created in such a way that makes you want to keep spending money on them. And I'm afraid that'll influence how single player games are made in the future. And that's a scary thing.
All I know
it's a slippery slope.
Is Hellblade done put the boot on some of these devs' throats. Microsoft can't make another Recore and say it's low budgeted.
But on that note, let's move on. I'm going to get into another topic, and I'm going to bring this one to the round table. So, obviously, we know the Xbox One UI dropped recently for those in the alpha ring, and wanted to talk about a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people still haven't had it, but I wanted to talk about the good and the bad. And ultimately, if constant iterations of the OS are good long term. So before I bring it to the roundtable, I just want to shout out: does anyone here in the roundtable have the new UI yet?
No.
Nope.
Hey, hold on. I told
you I got rid of that program. I jumped out of it. I brought a whole new Xbox to get rid of that crap.
He jumped out of the program.
It wouldn't let me out. It wouldn't let me out at all. It kept loading that crap up into my system. I had to sell my Call of Duty system that I liked a lot to get away from that.
All you have to do is go to factory setting and bam, it's gone.
Yeah, I tried that and it booted it back up. So you know what I did? I went to factory setting GameStop and sold it.
You must have booted the feedback thing up when you booted the game back up.
I don't have patience. I have money. I don't have patience. I have money. So I went right to the store and I got
money bullshit again. Okay. I guess when you don't know how to get yourself out of a simple program, then
that's right. I just go. Well, exactly. If you don't like what your PC did, you get rid of it and buy a new one. That's it. Enough.
All right, but Lord Anchorman, do you even have this UI? Because I'm curious. I see you on Twitter talking the most dirt about this UI, and I don't even think you have it.
He hates it. He tweets about it all the time.
Oh my god!
You know, when Lord Cognito says his stuff he don't like about it, he has legit stuff that he don't like about it. This dude's saying he don't like because there's too much space between this tile and this tile. Like,
Lord Anchorman, you do have the answer for that. I'm not sure.
It aesthetically looks okay. It doesn't look as bad as you be claiming. This dude be saying this thing looks like the front of a dumpster. Like, that's legit.
So since I'm the only one that has it right now, I'll make this quick. I'll talk about the good. I mean, first of all, it's zippy fast. The speed is definitely a good issue. You know, there's some great customization options as far as just moving the home screen around. You're able to customize kind of things that you want on your home screen. So they're really supporting this full customization aspect. There's also a cool thing for the techies about adjusting your NAT your NAT settings, and that's
Oh,
really
okay.
cool from a network perspective when you're having issues and stuff like
That's
that.
actually going to be big. That's
That's
big.
huge. That's huge. Also a big thing that I think they don't promote enough about it is, you know, as a guy like myself and Lord King, us premium experience guys, we tend to have multiple systems. You know, you may have one Xbox in the living room, one in the bedroom, or, you know, you may, you know, just be planning to buy an Xbox One S or the Xbox One X when it comes out. So one thing that sucks is if you are an external hard drive user, to be able to copy games one at a time. And they finally like have this bulk copy and move option, which I love. You know, so that to me, I
that's
feel is
great.
tremendous. And I think that's going to be cool, especially, you know, when the Xbox One X comes out and a lot of people are going to have to transfer that data over, you know, all those digital games and things like that. Because, you know, I'm all digital, just for the record.
Yeah.
But so we got that, and now the bad. First off, it's semi customizations, not full, because I'm a big proponent of, you know, the clubs feature. And I was trying to put the Iron Lord Podcast Club that we've got a ton of members in. Shout out to everybody who's been supporting and on Xbox Live and has jumped in it. I can't get that on my home screen. You know what I'm saying? And then there's some things that are kind of silly on the UI. Like shout out to Lord Valakon. I give him so much crap, and Lord Addict knows, like, Lord Valakon is stuck on my screen at the top of the homepage telling me to join him. And I'm like, I don't want to join him. I want to remove this from my screen, but there's some things that are there as far as that. And, you know, just these random Microsoft features that are trying to be pushed in promotions. And shout out to the Xbox 2 and Randolph Thor and those guys. You know, I heard Mikey Barr was on, and he said that that's early stage. That stuff is just
I
algorithm.
heard. You know, you watched that. Don't say I heard.
Well, I didn't heard. I mean, shout out to him. I watched it. No, I did. I
do want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
Fastback, no, he didn't give any feedback. Let's just be real here. No feedback. He's just bitching.
No, yeah, that first of all, I gave feedback. I'm the feedback.
No, I'm talking about Anchorman.
Okay, good. Yeah, I had to give feedback on stuff, you know, that I didn't like. So yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things that you know, Mike Barr and those guys were saying that, you know, that is algorithm stuff, and that's in the early aspect that's definitely getting changed. So I was happy to hear that. You know what I'm saying? But the main beef I have with it, y'all, is they have the new God button. You press it, and it has a lot of stuff that you can access. However, things like just adding someone into a party, you know, chatting, you know, with your friends, there's like 4 steps that you have to now drill down into just to get the same effect. So something as simple as, okay, I want to do a party chat, and, you know, I want to grab, you know, friend A, B, and C, that would normally take about maybe 1 or 2 steps, now takes 4, because these sub menus that you have to drill down to. Very annoying. And the last thing I want to talk about it is in reference to the achievements. Now, again, Mikey Barra, these guys said that, you know, they plan on doing something really special with achievements, and achievements are very important to me from the standpoint, especially, you know, the rare ones, you know, stuff that you're proud
Am I the only one that wants like a platinum that trophies have, like to have all of them? Like, what could they even call that? An achievement for all the achievements?
Something, man.
A gold achievement, maybe?
Yeah, Lord BRAP, you were saying something?
I would say like the grand achievement or something. I don't know. Or like gold achievement. I think someone said gold.
You know, and my thing is, I don't know if you guys remember a couple of UIs back.
They have some diamond achievements that pop
Yeah, they got
up.
the diamond one. It makes the cool sound when a lot of, you know, a rare achievement happens. Yeah, that the community doesn't have a lot of it. But the thing that pissed me off, I don't know if you guys remember a couple of UIs back, they had this thing called Achievement Showcase. And I know Lord Anchor knows what I'm talking about, because basically
I didn't know they took that out. I'm sure you're
I'm livid.
I know you're mad.
Because here's the thing. This is my main beef with this whole thing, right? And I'm about to go in. This is Lord Cognito rant. My thing is, I'm all about them being a software company and making iterations and improving it. But one thing that's my pet peeve is, don't take features away from me that you added. Like, that showcase thing was dope. Like, I literally had 5 of my most favorite achievements, and it had the achievement art, and it was associated with my profile. So, you know, I had my chest out, like, you know, it was a badge of honor. I had, you know, a lot of these achievements in this beautiful artwork, and now it's gone. There's no talk of it coming back. And that's my thing right now. Sometimes I feel these iterations, you know, take things away that actually were good. So I wanted to bring that to the table. You know, what are the Lord's thoughts on this? Anybody can jump in as far as the UI situation.
I guess I can go first since
Mhm.
the chat hates me right now for going in on Microsoft this one, but let's go in again. It's not that they, I'm all about Microsoft innovating their software system. I feel like they do it too much, and I feel like the way to balance that is to have a setting of when you first launch the system from factory settings. It's like, this is how, do you want your menu vertical? Do you want horizontal? And then you click that. Then it says, do you want it panels? Do you want it? Just let me customize it the way I want to. Never mess with it again.
Facts. I hear you.
And I feel like and it's not a big deal. Like for the most part, it's like Lord Cognito is in the special group. So like, there's probably 5,000 people with this thing.
Mhm.
Probably a little more than that, obviously, but it's not a big deal. But the big deal is people are trying to act like because they're doing a UI updates, they're attacking no games updates. So it's like the controllers. When Microsoft launches a new controller, they're doing new controllers but no games. Like, people don't realize these are different. These are completely different teams that have nothing to do with each other. Like the Mike Ybarra's whole team has nothing. He even said on the Xbox 2, I'm in charge of a lot of things but games. That was his exact words. So it's like, if they were popping in first parties, they would be, there would obviously be negative feedback, the stuff they don't like, but no one would be coming at it nearly as bad as they are now because, there's a lot of going out. It's like, you're putting all this time and effort into your UI, but you got no games on it. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's getting a lot of bad publicity.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Anyone wants to jump in on this, Lord BRAP?
Yeah, I mean, I my thing with this is, I mean, how many more UI iterations are we going to have with them?
Thank you.
Like, I mean, like, look, I obviously, it made sense when you dropped the Connect, you had to tweak things, but Jesus, I mean, this is like the 4th or 5th time already. And look, I like the home screen. Looks nice, looks clean, but I mean, like, why do they keep doing these iterations? Why do they keep improving things? It sounds like, I think Lord Cognito, you mentioned that with the with getting into a party chat or inviting a friend, like now it's like 2 or 3 extra steps, which means that they're going to go back and revamp it again. I mean, it's like, it's great that they want to listen to feedback, but get something together and just stick to it and just tweak things. I mean, look what Sony does with with their UI. They haven't had like these major like changes. They've changed things, they've updated things, they tweak things, but for the most part, the UI is the UI that we got and that we've gotten familiar with for the last 4 years. So just
and to jump on your point, Lord BRAP, don't you feel that promotes a consistency and familiarity with where things are? It's always this relearning. It's like we always have to go to school again, and how are we going to do it? It's like class every quarterly with the thing. Back to your point.
It's going to start becoming a running joke. I mean, I really think. I mean, it has. I mean, it's become a running joke with the controllers, and now it's becoming a running joke with the UI. And I think Lord Addict mentioned, with the games thing, it only kind of highlights, the UI and possibly, gives into a lot of that negativity towards the new UI that's come out. So I just look, we live in a day and age where people want to
just give us custom. Let us do the entire thing how we want, and then never mess with it again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but people want familiarity. They want to be able to like with our computers, with our phones. We want to be able to go on, log on, know everything is, and have ease of access to it. And that's it. That's all we want. That's all we want.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. It's like, I really do feel like if they would just let you customize every aspect of your dashboard, like just one update they got, and that would be a lot they would have to focus on. But I feel like if they focused a lot of resources on that particular update, they would never have to mess with it again unless something's messed up with them. And but I do have one request if Mike Ybarra is watching this and they are considering something like this. Make sure Anchorman has the one we have now forever.
You're a fool. Look, King, I'll let you guys get in on this UI situation.
I have a theory. I think every time their systems, a new system is coming out, they're gonna put out a new interface. to make it feel fresh. They don't want to release a new system with an old interface.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay, that's your so pretty much what you're doing. Yeah, I feel you, man. It's just Good. So I need your feedback on this.
That makes sense what Lord King is saying, but at the same time, it's like if you're gonna do that, release it with the system. Don't release it. Don't release it months in advance, because then when you release it months in advance, you put yourself in a situation where we have to iterate again.
This is the beta. They could be releasing that with the game, with the actual system.
Oh, absolutely.
Shout out to the chat. People asking that do you think that this is going to be because of the Xbox One X coming, if that's why they're trying to utilize this kind of a UI?
I think we would have got this if Xbox One X wasn't here. They did this last year. It's not because of that system.
Wasn't that because of the S?
They would have did that. Well, they have changed it. I don't even remember what it looked like when it came out, like the original one. Like I remember it looked drastically different. And what's funny is people don't realize they did this in the 360. It was like every year and a half, we got a new dashboard. They changed something almost yearly on the dashboard for the 360. I remember for the top of my head, 4 different dashboards for the 360.
Lozo?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like at this point, them being in the position that they're in, second place, far back in second place, it's just it comes off as you have nothing else to show, so let's change up the UI and give them something to talk about.
They got cracked down.
It comes off as you're not confident in it because you're constantly changing it, and not to the point where you're just tweaking it. You're just revamping the whole damn thing. Like you can't make up your mind, and that's the way it comes off. When you were in the 360 era, when they were doing it, they were on top of the world. All third parties ran best on their system. The conversation was, look, they're constantly refreshing the system. Wow, look at this positive thing that they're doing. Right. Now it comes off as they don't know what they're doing. They have nothing else to show. So,
I'm sorry, that was funny.
And they're gonna constantly keep tweaking it. It comes off as insecurity a little bit.
Yeah, I feel you. And my last point to that is great point. So I'll finish off, and I got a point to that too.
Especially when you're doing things like, I understand the desire to make the splash page as clean as possible. For me, definitely get rid of all the boxes that ask me to buy something or whatnot. But when the cleanliness of the splash page comes at the expense of ease of use, and now you have to go 4 or 5 steps in to do something that can require 2 steps. That's a problem. You're giving up something positive for what? You're not getting that much in return. And again, the opinions speak on it. It's like, I don't want to have to go through 5 steps to do something simple. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Absolutely. My last point is for the cherry on top of it, because Saab just made me think of something. It just, look, I don't want to be, Debbie Downer with the thing. Like I'm mad at innovation. I'm always liking the fact that they are trying to improve something, but I guess I'm more excited about them adding features but keeping a base UI, unless something is completely broken. My issue is, what was so broken about the last UI that we have to revamp the that's my main issue. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, hey, I'm all about those cool new features. I'm all about a tweak, but let's get some uniformity, and let's do it out there. And shout out to the chat. They've got some good stuff. Make sure you guys get feedback. That's one thing I have to give Microsoft credit. They do listen to the feedback. When people do, put their comments in.
You can argue a little bit too much sometimes.
I was just about to say that. Sometimes they listen way too much.
Right there, you guys. You don't even have to look for it. I put it in the comment section. I do want to say something real quick. Okay, I just dropped the feedback website thing they have where you can go. Yeah, everyone in this chat, go to that and vote to put YouTube on the Xbox, because I want to call out Mike Ugar's bluff, because he said in that podcast, he said, we will do it if it gets enough clicks. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get it enough clicks. Let's see if it does. Because I think it's something eternal. I think that's the reason it's not there.
We shall see. But that's all I got on the UI. We beat it to death. Let's move on. Let's get this thing going. Lord King, you have got something to talk about with Grandpa Nintendo and Amibos.
Well, it's really with Grandpa Nintendo and ARMS.
Yes, that is
and the
correct.
Amibos is like a side plot to that.
Sure.
I think Grandpa Nintendo has found a way to put us in a preview program without letting us know. I think Grandpa Nintendo has cracked the nut. I really think they have duped us. If anybody has picked up ARMS, and I picked up ARMS, it's not the same ARMS that you got day one, brother. It's a whole totally different ARMS now. They tweaked it. They added characters.
It's not worse than Fortnite.
No. See, what you did get was you got a game. That was a functional game. And what I expected, like from Grandpa Nintendo, and what Grandpa Nintendo does best is father knows best.
I wonder if anyone from Nintendo's ever watched our podcast and be like, why do they keep calling us Grandpa? Like, this is frustrating.
It's affectionate. It's affectionate.
Reggie's fuming right now.
Well, Reggie shouldn't be too upset because I found out what Reggie's been up to. And Reggie has been sliding little Trojan horses into our console slots. This game is a preview program game. They are giving you
program. This is going to be a 30-minute topic.
They're giving you extra characters. They're giving you tweaks to the game, and they're updating it. And Nintendo has grown because before they would just put out a game and that's it. So Nintendo has found a way to put you in a preview program for a game because remember, this game came out at a time where they needed a game to fill a slot because they had a low. So I think the game was rushed to be put out, but it was in a finished enough stable form to simulate a complete game. And they said, well, over time, we'll just give them stuff. They won't complain. And because at first when the game was launched, it didn't feel like a $60 game. It actually felt like a $30 game. I was very upset that I spent $60. Then it goes back to the HellBlade. You spend $30, you couldn't get upset about it. You just chucked it up like, oh, I spent $30. If it was great, it was good, whatever, and you came out on top. This, I spent $60, and I was mad because I could have took that $60 and put it someplace else and get ARMS in its finished form.
Like Ark in its preview program?
I don't know about that. But I won't go for your little baits today. Today, you woke up. I think you must be energized. You got sleep, and you're in bait mode. But I'm gonna leave you standing in that corner, flapping in the wind. But I believe Nintendo.
You just lucky I wasn't here for the poll one.
That's nice. You're here now. I lost. Okay, move on. Then wave your flag in the corner again. Bye.
I be waving my flag a lot here, King.
Continue, Lord King.
Somebody gave him a Red Bull. Shout out to Red Bull. Forgive Lord Addict, a Red Bull, because you up today. You wasn't up last week. I'm glad you got that energy. And why are you all in my topic? This guy. Oh my God. Such a savage. But I just want to know, do you guys feel cheated or feel rewarded that Nintendo actually went back into the game and gave you some of the stuff that we was asking for in the beginning? And does it feel like it's a $60 purchase now opposed to when you first purchased it?
Is this just going to the people who bought ARMS? Question mark.
No. Did you buy ARMS? Are you willing to buy ARMS now that you heard that it's actually a better game than when it launched?
I didn't know nothing about ARMS. I didn't know it got better. Like, I just assumed it was the same game.
Yeah, they've been consistent updates recently.
I mean, I think that's good. Like, you know, regardless how you feel about that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of games that do it. Do you necessarily think people who bought GTA 5 at launch is getting robbed because it's better than it was at launch?
Yeah. Shout out to Lord Kaibatsu in the chat. He's saying, what's the difference between this and fighting games that add balance updates and characters and stuff like that?
It's $60. Full
right. Now, ARMS is $60. ARMS is $60.
But I think it's worth the $60 because it looks fun. It is. It looks fun.
It does look fun. Yeah.
Lord Sov, you're an ARMS owner.
You're an ARMS owner. You act like he's.
I don't want to buzz ARMS. Yes, I know you have it.
Look, he don't even want to admit that he has it.
Like I was trying to hide in the corner.
Hey, you
No,
you're
the
the only
game-
one in my corner. Okay.
The game
Is
the
it worth
game-
it?
I think it absolutely is. I knew it was a little undercooked when it launched, but at the same time, Nintendo's done this with their new IP when they're not 100% sure how it's going to be reacted to. They did it with Splatoon. Splatoon 1 came out very undercooked with very little content. And when they saw people gravitated to the gameplay, I guess all this stuff was in the works already, but they made sure to support it maybe like 2 years into the lifespan of the game. They were still dropping new things. So the same is going to be true for this. I mean, ARMS sold over damn near 1.5 million copies.
Yep.
They're going to continue to support it. But again, it was one of those things that if it sold 50,000 copies, they weren't going to put that much more money and effort into it. You're going to get some stuff maybe for the remainder of this year, and maybe that's it. But with the community behind it, you're going to see more of it. So I don't think it differs that much from fighting games and changes and additions to characters and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see. How they do it with a single player game that isn't, because when you have ARMS as a multiplayer fighter, Splatoon is a multiplayer shooter. So it'd be interesting if they brought up some new IP that wasn't in those two genres, and to see how they handle that. Do they go all in from the jump and give you a full-on experience, or they sort of piecemeal it to you? But again, we haven't seen single-player IP new stuff from them for a long time. So
I mean, they could always do a Destiny to lock a whole raid behind the disc and then unlock it later and say, we need more money.
That's for the Amiibo. They'll put the raid behind the Amiibo.
I'm done. He said that we go do the Amiibo.
That's the second part of that topic. Did everybody? Yeah, let's get it all out. Yeah, jump in on it.
Norm's order, and I will admit, like, first of all, I love the game. I think the game is very unique. It's balanced, and the thing I like about it is that I wasn't forced to use motion controls, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. So I actually like that aspect. It's colorful, cool art style. I like the game. I will say this to Lord King's point, though. I do feel, yes, the online features are cool. There's the basketball thing. You can dunk your opponent in, 3-on-3, 2-on-2, all this stuff. I do feel from a single player standpoint, it is bare bones in that aspect. So, I do understand what he's saying as far as that maybe it kind of launched kind of bare bonesy and then kind of got better with each subsequent update and things of that nature. In its defense, though, I will say this. The updates are free. You know what I mean? They could have easily hit us with the, $5 for Max Brass DLC. You know what I'm saying? Like they could have, So that's why I kind of respect the fact that every update and every balance patch has been free. You know what I mean? Now, your other topic, which we'll get into, which I'm dying to chomp at the bit, is the Amiibo. We're gonna get into that. But Lord BRAP, you good on ARMS?
You know what? I did not pick up ARMS, but hey, anytime we get free content or updated content for game support, I'm all for it. As long as they don't charge anything extra, I'm good.
No doubt. Cool. All right, Lord King is back on you. Talk to us about
Grandpa Nintendo has found out that Amibos is a serious moneymaker. and they're going to force your hand this time if you really want this content. So they took one of their favorite IPs, game that we've been waiting for, the remake to Metroid on
Samus
the 3DS, the 2DS, Samus Returns, and they're giving you these two Amiibos. Now, they're not giving you anything, but you could purchase these two Amiibos. Now, before, Amiibos would be cosmetic. You will purchase them if you choose. If not, you didn't miss anything.
Break down the Amiibos for those who don't know. Break down the Amiibos, Lord King, in relationship to how they worked in Breath of the Wild, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
You mean that pay-to-win format?
Well, the Amiibos weren't pay to win, as Lord Addict says, because he purchased no Amiibos, right, sir?
Lord King, did you not spawn a wolf from Amiibos?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, sir.
How many hearts did that wolf from this Amiibo set have?
It had 15 hearts, I believe, sir.
How many you start from when you start this Amiibo?
You start off with 3, sir.
So tell me exactly how that's not pay to win, sir.
Well, it's pay to assist. I say I was assisted with this wolf because if the wolf get killed, he wasn't there for 24 hours, so it's pay to wait.
You realize 15 hearts is a lot of hearts, and it's going to take a minute for that wolf to get killed.
Lord, you got to stop my side.
And once I told you, once I told you that was available, did you go out and buy said wolf?
I didn't need it. I beat the game without it.
Thank you, sir. I'm fantastic and happy that you did. I used the wolf because it was at my disposal. You had a choice.
Lord BRAP, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say as the guest here on the podcast, I do agree with Lord Addict that that is kind of paid to win.
Yes, sir. It is.
I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. If you want to do it, then do it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I agree that it's kind of paid.
I like Lord King's verbiage. Paid to assist. I got
a little assistance to the game. A cute little wolf that was vicious.
It's like this boss is owning it. You know what? Let's summon the wolf.
No, well, actually, you couldn't use him in certain aspects. It was only outside. But I know I purchased it, you didn't, so I can explain it to you. But I also purchased other amiibos, and they were cosmetic. It was clothing that you received for it. It was all cosmetic stuff. It wasn't anything that stopped you from completing any part of the game. It wasn't anything locked behind an amiibo that you couldn't achieve regularly. You just got the amiibos, and they gave you food, and it was pay to assist. And I purchased every amiibo. Like I was on an amiibo hunt. I told Cognito about the wolf amiibo. He went out and he got it because he saw it and he thought it was cool. But Grandpa Nintendo has taken this to another level, people. Now, those two amiibos that I told you about, the Samus amiibo and the Metroid amiibo, they come in a dual pack. Best Buy is selling it, and you can get it on Amazon. Now, it's sold out on Amazon now, and I'm pretty sure that these amiibos will be going for upwards of $75 to $100 on the second-hand market to get these. Because behind these amiibos, and you need these amiibos to get out locked portions of the game that's actually on the cartridge.
Apparently, it's a fusion. It's called fusion mode, right? Which is a whole difficulty level. So pretty much the equivalent of what Breath of the Wild came out with a DLC for hard mode, right? So the amiibo, from our understanding, is bringing a locked fusion mode, which is their hard mode that you can only unlock by having this amiibo.
So wait a minute. You did not just say that they have an amiibo with DLC on it.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm done.
It says, all right, it says the new squishy Metroid amiibo will not only reveal the location of nearby Metroid on your map. When you beat the game, it will also unlock a new fusion difficulty mode where Samus has her suit from Metroid Fusion. Now, the Nintendo has tried to get in front of it and say, because people went over arms, they're like, hey, this hard mode is only available through this amiibo. Now, Nintendo has come out with a statement that said there is a hard mode that will not be amiibo necessary, but fusion mode, which is, I believe, is a harder difficulty and gives you that suit, is locked behind the amiibo.
So pretty much we're saying how genius Nintendo is, right? That's where this is going, right?
It's lockable content through the amiibo. What did the Lord feel about this?
This ain't Grandpa Nintendo. This is that that uncle that's a gambler Nintendo.
What do we feel?
Yeah. I mean, I think first of all, they roll back on this. This is them trying to fix that, because initially it was hard mode is locked behind. It was a normal mode, easy mode, and flat out hard mode was locked behind the amiibo. When they saw everybody get up in an uproar, they said, no, regular hard mode is fine. So they just renamed it fusion mode, and they renamed something. They made it just even harder than hard mode. That's all it is. because of the uproar when they first mentioned it.
So pretty much how it's going to be is the original hard mode, you get hit once, you die. Fusion mode, you step on a rock, you die.
Yeah, exactly. They just made it more unforgiving. That's all they did, because the uproar when they first announced it, people flipped out and they decided to at least retcon that a little bit and fix that.
Right.
In terms of the suit, I mean, we've seen it with other Amiibo where you get downloadable. Yeah, exactly. So, and people like Amiibo. I mean, the Amiibo sell. Amiibo is the only sort of games to life stuff that still kind of sells. Everything else is basically dead, because they never tried to use Amiibo as games. Oh, the chat.
Shout out to Flashback in the chat. He go ahead. He said Cooper is in charge of Nintendo's microtransactions. I'm done. I'm sorry, so I'll continue.
That's hilarious.
But it's the truth. It's the truth. You know, they're gonna try to milk this, and as long as you're giving me, you know, whatever the physical content, aesthetic stuff that is not affecting gameplay, but this stuff is not good. Anytime, I don't care what mode it is, it's a super difficult mode that nobody's really gonna play, or you're gonna play 5 minutes and you're gonna figure out that you don't want to play anymore. Fine, but don't ever lock that behind a physical purchase. Give me, I don't mind buying something physically, and you give me a suit or something like that. But gameplay elements and stuff like that, no.
You got an issue with that. No doubt. Lord BRAP, how do we feel about these Amibos?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. That you don't lock gameplay content behind toys. You know, that's just not. That's just not, you know, that's not cool with me. You know,
you feel a way about that?
Because I mean, like, if I don't want an Amiibo, why you make? Look, I'd be okay if they gave us the option. Hey, if you buy the Amiibo, you get this. You know, you get the gameplay content too. But if you don't want to buy the Amiibo, you buy the gameplay content separate on our, you know, on the e-store or whatever. I'd be okay with that. But to lock it behind a toy that I'm not interested in buying, no,
it's gonna be hard to get to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, you can't find those Amibos, and they're gonna have to go on eBay and pay like double the price.
Yes, sir.
Facts.
You know,
Facts.
Yeah.
Look, this whoever said it's the Uncle Nintendo is right, because this is slick on Nintendo's part.
Sub, you had something you wanted to jump in? I heard you in the back.
It's just the fact, like, you should never be paying for any of that stuff. I mean, if you look at it, if we just finished talking about Splatoon and ARMS and all the stuff they give you, and they're gonna unlock they're gonna lock a hard mode behind something you gotta purchase. It's like, come on, man, really? Like,
next thing you know, they're gonna lock entire games behind Amiibo.
Right. But what about the argument for Lord BRAP and Lord Soft? What about the argument that Lord King is that if you want that premium experience, you're gonna have to pay that money for it?
All I have to say is people that live that life is the problem.
I'm the problem. Because I pre-ordered it. Once I found out that crap was going down, I said, oh no. I was getting it anyway.
They got exactly what they wanted. Go figure.
Yes, and I mean, I don't think he was going to purchase
the rest of us gamers.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Lord King paving the road for foolishness.
Yeah, but
Lord King is down with the Amiibo program.
I'm 100% sponsored it.
You should have. Hey, anyone in the chat that want to laugh, go to the week after Zelda came out. Go to that podcast.
Oh man, let me tell y'all real quick funny story. Like, I didn't know anything about Amigos. I'm just getting back at Nintendo with the Switch, you know, kind of getting myself used to the ecosystem. And Breath of the Wild comes out, you know, and I'm checking my Facebook, all of my friends have it, and I'm looking at Lord King's Facebook feed, and I'm just seeing all these like exotic looking armors, and I saw him with a wolf.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, this dude's putting mad hours, and then I found that out.
I'm
like,
like,
never mind.
Blazing. Lord BRAP. I'm like, yo, he's such a better gamer than me. I'm like, how is he? And I'm literally Lord BRAP. I'm in my feelings because I'm like, yo, his armor looks so much better than mine. Then I'm like, where did you get that wolf? And then he pulls me to the side. It's like, Lord Cognito,
here's the hustle.
Get that Amiibo. And I'm like, what's that? And he showed me the picture of the thing, and I'm like, that gives you these items in game? And he's like, yeah, you don't know. And I'm like, okay. Now I must confess. Lord Cognito went to GameStop. I had to have that wolf, man. That wolf looked too hot. And I was only running around Hyrule with 3 hearts, and it was very hard for me to get it. Those goblins was giving me problems. You know what I mean? So I did conform, and I bought it. And I'm like, wow. And not only do these things do that, they give you like daily fruit and cooking meals and weapons. Sometimes someone's giving you shields and all. And it's a daily thing. You just, it's a 24-hour rule, and then you kick it in, and it goes in. And I just thought, wow, they are genius. This thing, as much as it is kind of anti-gamer, consumer, it is something genius that they are locking behind this toy. Like, that is hilarious to me. Lord King, the floor is yours on this topic.
I have to say, as an Amiibo owner, several Amiibos, I might add, it is fantastic that they give you things for your purchase. Sometimes you buy these little statues, these little toys as commemorative items of an era of Nintendo. But Nintendo has found out a way to make you use these toys. We're not taking toys out and playing with them on the floor. That's not happening. We're not
gonna, man. Sometimes, mate, I question you.
There you go with the personal attacks, but I know your age bracket. You sit there with your little warriors and you play. I know you do. I don't. I don't. That's why you can visualize me doing it, because you do it. I don't do it.
I enjoy every second of it, King. Every second of it.
I know, sir. I know, sir. I love this energy from AJ. Thank you today. But they found a way for us to take them off the shelves and to actually use them. And they got to the point where I was using literally 24 Amiibos. And at 24 hours, I will sit there at my television, and my kids will tell you, I will sit there, I will put every last Amiibo in, go through every last chest, sell every item that I wasn't using, change my armor.
You had a plethora. You had an army of Amiibos on your table next to your Switch.
You saw it, right? You saw it, right? I brought them all from upstairs, because I was buying Amiibos before just for the aesthetics. I was like, I got it. It didn't matter to me. But then, this Breath of the Wild, they give you stuff even if they have no association to said title. No,
props to Nintendo for making the older ones relevant in the game. Still, I was surprised by that you said that. Every
Amiibo gave you something, and the Amiibos that was linked to that title and name gave you extra. So Nintendo, I'm kind of appalled at what they're doing, because it was a choice of mine to go get this stuff. It was a choice. But now, if I want that extreme mode, I need this Amiibo to get that out.
They got you.
Grandpa
got you.
If I want the suit, I need this Amiibo to get this out. So I won't be able to complete my game 100%. You're telling me? See, Lord Addict completed Breath of the Wild without any Amiibo use, right? So this is the contrast of two gamers. One with Amiibo use, one without Amiibo use. We both had different experiences, but we both were able to complete the game. There wasn't no barriers in Lord Addict's way.
Yeah, it was just more grinding.
Yeah, but you had fun along the way. And if you choose to for the hand assist, you got it. If you didn't, you didn't. I choose for the hand assist.
I will say this: they have geniusly found a way to monetize nostalgia.
Exactly.
I will say that.
Right now, they're treading on a very fine line when they're locking something.
They habitual line crossers.
They are line steppers, right? Right now. And I was lucky to get those Amiibos. I'm seeing the prices of the pre-orders, the people are selling them, or they're anticipating the sale of these Amiibos at more than triple the price. And that sucks for little Tommy that wants to get that suit, or, older Jake that wants to get that suit. That they have to pay initial prices, or they have to pay triple the price
Man,
to get
all
these
I know is
Amigos.
Nintendo finessing all kinds of people.
Shout out to Fastback in the chat. He's like, but at least Lord King, he looked better finished his Zelda than everybody else. I'm done.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And I was posting those pictures. I was posting those pictures hard.
And on that note, if everyone else is finished with a video, so you gotta wrap this thing up. We went a little longer than usual. But yeah, shout out to Lord BRAP, man. I mean, that for coming through and talking games with us, man.
No,
Much
absolutely.
appreciated, man. Presence is appreciated. And I wanted to
thank
shout you out. Yeah, I just wanted to shout you out, and I want you to plug that channel, man. Tell the gamers where they can talk to you.
Absolutely. I just want to say, guys, you guys have a great podcast. I mean, this is
Thank you.
this was a lot of fun. I love the friendly banter back and forth, and great gaming conversation too. So thank you again, guys, for having me on. I definitely appreciate it.
Much appreciated, man. We're just gonna close this thing up real quick. Before we actually get into our outros all the way, also wanted to, I've got to actually mention the new poll this week, and it's gonna be going up on the ILP Twitter soon. It's inspired by the co-host Lord Addict. So here's what it's gonna be. So with franchises like Titanfall, Mass Effect, and the soon-to-be released PUBG that are initially exclusive, has Microsoft dropped the ball by not backing the money truck up to secure these franchises? Or should Microsoft focus more on developing in-house first-party exclusive games? So that is
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Jesus, that's a good
I
one.
need you guys to hit the polls. We got to rock the
Someone
vote.
said Lord Podcast.
So, no doubt, baby. Yes, Fastback, that's my man. Fastback's the guy. So yeah, this is gonna be a hot one, man. I've been seeing a lot of banter, and I really want to get the feedback from the community. So once it goes up, I'll put it out there. You guys hit that poll and rock this thing, and also like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But we're gonna do our outros. My co-host with the co-host, Lord Addict. I'm glad that you got free from work and got the cobwebs out the eyes. But tell us what's going on with you and that channel, and
I have
Talk to
to
us what you got going.
apologize again. I don't know, like, I could have swore before, because it was like 11, and I was like, I got 2 hours left, and then I woke up at 1:30. But it happens. I have to apologize for that. Yeah, definitely, go subscribe to me, Gaming Addict. Follow me on Twitter, Lord Addict ILP. Me and Kid Smooth are doing a dual review series now, and against my wishes, we have to review Sunset Overdrive next. So I have to finish
play that classic.
So I have to finish the game. I'm doing it right now. So definitely go check that out. But I appreciate everyone in the comment section. Be sure to like the video, because that definitely helps. And that's all I have to say.
Absolutely. And Lord Saw, where can the fine people find you? And thanks for that review on Hellblade. Spectacular.
Oh, no doubt. Definitely. And I look forward to talking about the new Uncharted game in 2 weeks. So I'll be talking about in depth about that when we get down to that point. But yeah, thanks to Lord BRAP for coming through, man. I really appreciate it. And everybody in the chat for keeping engaged. You guys are hilarious in the chat. Yeah, and everybody always late. Yeah, guys can find me on Xbox Live at BX Sovereign, PSN BX Sovereign, one word, and Lord Sov ILP on Twitter.
Absolutely. And Lord King, the premium Amiibo experience gamer.
Please don't say that. Don't give him another one of these names.
I might have to throw that in his intro, man. I might need that.
The primo.
Lord Amiibo.
The King Amiibo.
Gonna have to get a picture of him holding a bunch of Amiibos with a big ass grin on his face.
With that smile, yeah.
Lord BRAP, thank you for coming through. Oh man, like I said, I have a couple of your podcasts that I really want to listen to, so I'm loading them up. Well, they're loaded up, ready for when I hit work tonight. So I'm gonna listen to all of them back to back, hit those likes and stuff like that. It was a great experience for you to come through. It felt really good because older gamers. From the beginning, from the Genesis, you got a chance to watch it. It was nice to get that feedback. It was a beautiful day. You can catch me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Tweet me at King David OTW. I'm not going to go into said basketball game that was supposed to be played.
We're not going to talk about that bet.
I'm not gonna go into that. I'm not gonna give any light to that shadow. I'm gonna leave that there. But I'm disappointed, just like you guys.
I thought you were going over there to play him. What happened to that?
I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna give any light to that. That'll happen when it happens. I don't know why this lawyer is talking for this guy again.
I was just asking. How am I lawyering up? Like, I'm just asking.
You can talk
GG
to
is
me.
kid's lawyer, not me.
You can talk. There he goes again. Anyway, for those guys that know what I'm talking about, y'all will be in the know. I will post the pictures, and y'all can watch the stuff on Mixer, when it goes down.
No doubt. And of course, Lord Cognito here. We're spreading that gaming realness on the ILP, not telling you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Shout out again to Lord BRAP, man. Can't say enough about him and the channel and the things he does in the community. It was a pleasure to have him on the show. And like I said, make sure you guys really support his channel. Go out there every Wednesday night. It's in 4K 60, y'all. He's the only one doing it.
I put his link in the comment section, so you guys got no reason to say you didn't know where it was.
Support real gaming podcasts. That's what we're all about.
And you
here.
should feel special. I think that's the only time we've ever done that. Put it in the comment section.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Please, guys, come by every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I also do BRAP rants on occasion too. So those are always fun. It's just me by myself. I'm usually ranting about gaming related topics or things that are going on in the community. So check this out.
I can't wait for when you get on those Amibos. That's gonna be fun.
I might have to be my next rant.
He said that's gonna be the next one.
No doubt. And of course, make sure for all the Iron Lord supporters, please hit that like, subscribe, ILP on all those media outlets, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud. All that support really helps the Lord. Much appreciated. We've got some big announcements cooking up. You guys stay tuned. Things about to be real hot in these streets. But on that note, we're gonna end this thing, and we out. Peace.